HOJO Radio.
Chilton, the Colgate Safety Man is on his way. Chilton, the Colgate Safety Man had lots to say. He told you tales of sports heroes, the inside dope he really knows. So listen in next Friday night. COLGATE.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is the 7th of December. It's not just enough to remember another December the 7th 4 years ago. You've got to do more than that. You've got to buy bonds in this last victory loan. Buy and hold those bonds. That's the best way to remember December the 7th. And also remember this. It's easier to dig into your pockets for dough than have a doctor dig into our bodies for shrapnel. Good night.
Bill Stern's latest article on sports entitled Doctors Are Miracle Men appears in the current issue of Esquire magazine.
Our next broadcast premiered in 1935. The program struggled in the ratings until 1940 when it became a national sensation. Within 3 years, it was the top-rated program in America. Few radio shows were more beloved, and few play as well half a century later. It was the brainchild of real-life married couple Jim and Marion Jordan and was broadcast to the nation from WMAQ Chicago. The show entertained America until March of 1956 and continued on NBC's Monitor until 1959. We invite you to join us at 79 Wistful Vista with Fibber McGee and Molly right here on HOJO Radio.
The Johnson Wax Program with Fibber McGee and Molly. Of Johnson's Wax and Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat present Fibber McGee and Molly, written by Don Quinn, with songs by the King's Men and music by Billy Mills. The show opens with O.G.O. Joy. Like these, some speakers and writers have a tendency to use big phrases and words when small, simple words might be better. Civilization is a big word, for example, but home is a small word that we can all understand. A word that expresses everything we're fighting for: liberty, freedom, family. And it's a word that tells the part you women play in this war, for it's your main job to keep those home fires burning, keep your homes clean, orderly, cheerful. And it's part of your job to take care of the things you have, make them last a longer time. Now, that's not an easy job, but a useful product like genuine Johnson's Wax makes it easier. Because the regular use of Johnson's Wax gives lasting protection to floors, furniture, and woodwork, guards them against dirt and wear, makes cleaning easier, saves you hours of time, and adds rich beauty in the bargain. Try protective housekeeping in your home if you're not already a regular user of genuine Johnson's Wax, paste, liquid, or cream. Alexander Graham Bell could have foreseen that people would pick up his invention and say, "Guess who this is?" he'd have dropped the whole idea. If Edison had known that his phonograph would wind up playing Chattanooga Choo-Choo, he'd have spent more time on the electric light. That's how it is with men who have ideas, men with vision, men who do things, men who, well, you'll get a rough idea listening to Fibber McGee and Molly.
When I tell you...
Oh, but McGee, I don't want you to make me a footstool. I want to buy this one advertised by the Bon-Ton.
That rickety, unseasoned, hammer-scratched, not wholly hunk of driftwood? That wobbly-legged son of a cheap card table?
It's not cheap. It's $12.95.
Well, go buy a $13 hat then. I'm making this footstool. I'll turn you out the most unreasonably exact facsimile of this advertisement you ever laid your beautiful big green eyes on.
My eyes are blue.
They'll be green with jealousy when they see the footstool I'm going to make. Why, when I get started on a project of this
Come in.
Hi, Johnny. Hello, daughter.
You ordered some stuff from the hardware store?
No, Mr. Oldtimer, I don't...
I did. I ordered a few woodworking tools, old-timer. Is that they?
You betcha, Sonny. 3 chisels, hand drill, scraper, spirit level, crosscut saw, and some brass tacks.
How much, old-timer?
Well, let me see now, Johnny. $1.5, 4, 7, 35, 18, $9.62, including the coffee.
What coffee? Did you order coffee from the hardware store, dearie?
No, I didn't. Now, look, old-timer, what's the idea?
Now, wait a minute, Johnny. Don't get your puss in a pandemonium. I just... hey, daughter, what's a pandemonium?
That's an uproar.
That's what I thought. Now, don't get your puss in a pandemonium, Johnny. You ordered this stuff from the hardware store, didn't you? Yes or no?
Yes, but I...
Wanted it delivered, didn't you?
Well...
Yes or no?
Yes, but I...
You knew they didn't have any delivery service, didn't you? Yes or no?
No, I didn't.
Well, they haven't. So I told them I'd bring it over here, and you appreciate that, don't you? Yes or no?
Yes, but...
Well, it's a cold day, and I stopped for a cup of coffee. Begrudge me that, yes or no?
Of course not, but...
Okay, $9.62, including the coffee.
Well, here's $10, Mr. Oldtimer, and thank you very much.
No, forget it, daughter. Glad to do it. You ain't sure about the coffee, Johnny?
Oh, no, but I still don't know why, according to this bill, you had to pay 85 cents for a cup of coffee.
I like sugar in it.
Oh, my.
Well, thanks for stopping by with the stuff, old-timer. And I don't mind about the coffee. What's an extra little chisel among all these tools?
That's pretty good, Johnny. But that ain't the way I heard it. The way I heard it, one feller says, tell a feller, say, my doctor done told me to eat a lot of carrots. I've tried it, and it sure builds up your resistance. Is that so, says t'other feller. To colds? No, says the first feller. To carrots. Well, see you later, kid.
McGee.
Huh?
When did you order these tools?
Yesterday, when you first started thinking about the footstool.
Say, I didn't realize you knew I was even looking at that advertisement. Have you got eyes in the back of your head?
No, but I got a head in the back of my eyes. Now, look, you know what I'm going to do?
Wait till I cross my fingers. All right, what are you going to do?
I'm going to bring my tools and stuff upstairs here and work in the living room.
Oh, no. You might wake Uncle Dennis, McGee. He's asleep, you know.
He is? I thought he was going out with a bunch of fellas for some gin rummy.
Well, he did, but when he found out it was a card game, he came home.
Well, I'll hammer real quietly. I wouldn't disturb the old fellow. Oh, doggone it. And I wanted to get to work. Who's at the door?
Let me peep. Uh-oh, Mrs. Uppington.
Ah, dear old Uppy, the salt of the earth.
You really think so?
I sure do. You can't take much of her at a time. And it takes a good shaking to get her to come out in wet weather. Come in.
Oh, hello, Abigail.
How do you do, my dear? And Mr. McGee.
Hi, babe. What's new in the name?
Mrs. McGee, don't you simply adore your husband when he's in one of those clever moods?
Well, I wouldn't say adore, Abigail. Tolerate would be more appropriate. But what can we do for you?
Well, I just stopped in to ask you both over for a fish dinner tomorrow evening. My brother has sent me some marvelous mountain trout.
Oh, boy, that's for me, Uppy. I love trout. And they better be good, too, because I'm an expert on fish.
Oh, really?
Oh, indeed he is, Abigail. I wish I could tell you what those old fishermen up in Oregon said about McGee last summer.
Well, why can't you?
Well, because I'm too much of a lady, for one thing.
And for another thing, it ain't true. I still don't know how that mousetrap got on the end of my fish line. Hey, did I ever tell you how I caught the big trout in the Pahushka pool, Uppy?
No, I don't believe you did, Miss McGee.
That's right, Abigail. I believe you are the one he didn't tell.
Well, sir, the Pahushka pool was a kind of a little wide place in the Pahushka River way up in South Wickiup, Oregon, see? There was a trout in there 3 feet long, and nobody'd ever been able to catch him. Till I come along.
Oh, good heavens, how thrilling. Did you use some special kind of bait, Mr. McGee?
Yep. I caught him with a Mack truck.
A Mack truck?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir. I was standing in the middle of the Pahushka pool one day, all ready to cast, when along the road comes a wholesale drug truck. The driver was so busy watching me that he lost control of the truck, hit the bridge approach, run the thing off the bridge right into the Pahushka pool. And quick's a flash, all the water run into the truck, drying up the Pahushka pool, and I walked over and picked up that big trout right out of the mud.
My goodness, Mr. McGee, that's astounding. But why should all the water run into the truck?
It was hauling a load of sponges. Oh, I tried.
And speaking of sponges, Abigail, we'll be very glad to come to dinner.
Splendid.
Hey, wait a minute. We'll come on one condition, Abby.
Oh? What is that, Miss McGee?
As air raid warden around here, I had complaints about you. You got to promise to get some heavy curtains or something and black out your house.
Very well, Miss McGee. I shall naturally do anything to cooperate, although I consider the whole thing very, very silly.
Oh, now, Abigail, that's not the right attitude at all. What's silly about covering up your windows?
Little McGee, you're so naive, really. Don't you realize, my dear, that if the Japanese or the Germans should come to Wistful Vista, they'll be far too busy to go about peeping into people's windows.
All sawed off. Both the same length, too.
Well, wonderful. But I'd prefer a footstool with 4 legs. I don't want to have to learn to ride it like a bicycle.
Don't kid me. I'm going to make 2 more. You talk like I was an amateur.
You'll have to hurry, Mickey. I have the needlepoint cover almost finished for the footstool.
Huh?
Look. Isn't it pretty?
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. What kind of purple flowers are those?
Ranzabulas.
Ranzabulas? I never heard of them.
Of course you haven't. I made them up. I thought that roses were so ordinary that I might as well.
Oh, dear. Come in.
Oh, good day, Mayor Latrivia. Come right in.
Oh, hi, Latriv. Just the guy I wanted to see.
You wish to see me, McGee?
Yes. I think he wants to apologize, Mr. Mayor.
I do, Latrivia. I do. I want to apologize for thinking you were a crook last week. I'm sorry.
Why, that's quite all right, McGee. I'll admit the appearances were against me. I accept your apology.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to show there are no hard feelings, why don't you come to dinner tomorrow night?
Hey, Molly, we're going to Uppy's tomorrow night.
Oh, yeah. How about Thursday night, Mr. Mayor?
Splendid, Mrs. McGee. Thank you very much.
And bring your wife, Latrivia.
No, I don't think that
Come on, bring her.
I'm sorry, Mrs. McGee, but to be frank...
To be frank, we ain't good enough to meet your wife. Is that it? Why, if you ain't the stuck-up and a snobbish...
McGee!
Huh?
Maybe Mayor Latrivia has some good reason he doesn't want to bring his wife.
I have a very good reason. You see,
there can't be any good reason for that. Latrivia's just high-hat, that's all. Why...
Now, just a minute, McGee. If you can restrain your impetuosity for a brief interval...
And never mind the big words, either. I know what you mean. You ain't fooling me with them jawbreakers, Latrivia.
Now, McGee, he only said...
I know what he said, Molly, and I don't take that from anybody.
McGee,
I merely attempted to interpolate a few words to indicate that you are irretrievably, yes, even incongruously in error. If you think...
That's enough, Latrivia. Take off your coat.
Now, stop this, McGee. You're just excited, dearie. I'm sure Mary Latrivia can explain himself.
To McGee, I wouldn't consider it necessary, Mrs. McGee. But to you, yes.
Yeah? Well, it better be good, too, Bud. That's all I gotta say, too.
McGee, let the mayor talk. Why can't you bring your wife, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, why?
Well, if you think I'm going out and get married just so I can bring a wife to your family clam bake, McGee, you're dripping wet. I'll see you for dinner Thursday.
Well, now aren't you ashamed, McGee?
Shamed and chagrined. How did I know he wasn't? Gee, that was a natural mistake.
You know, I thought he was married myself.
Yeah.
70 days, McGee. If you could get a lovely girl like me, certainly he ought to be able to find one.
Well, I suppose that's the difference between having a character and being one. Now, what was I doing before he... Oh, yeah.
Now, listen, don't get sawdust all over my rugs, dearie.
Oh, don't worry. I got newspapers spread around, haven't I? Only amateurs make a mess of this stuff. I'm an expert.
So you've told me. You certainly talk a wonderful little footstool.
Well, I build one, too. I remember one time... Hey, where's the saw?
In your hand.
Oh, yeah.
I remember one time I was up in North Dakota. Down the old house told me, he said, well, I can fix fruit. So I said, okay, I'll get the fruit in. Well, that's 40 feet, that's lumber mill, see? Then he fixed fruit. I can see that. I'll put it in the sun. Oh, sure, little kids, I'm going up there. All those little few things I ever saw.
And to this day, they don't know how I did it.
Well, neither do I. And furthermore, dearie...
Hello, folks. What are you doing?
Oh, hello, Mr. Wilcox. McGee's making me a footstool, he says.
It's going to be a honey, too, Harlow. I love working with wood.
Ah, so do I.
Oh, are you a carpenter, too, Mr. Wilcox?
No, I would say that, Molly. I don't think I could stand it.
Stand what?
Oh, sawing wood, pounding nails into it, cutting it to pieces, scratching it all up. It'd break my heart. You know why?
No, why?
Don't go away, folks. Our Mr. Wilcox feels very deeply about certain things, and we don't like to discourage the enthusiasms of a grown boy. Makes him sensitive. Why don't you like to do carpentering, Sonny?
Well, I guess I've spent too many years selling people on the idea of protecting and beautifying wood surfaces. Fibber, you know, Johnson's wax. Bringing out the natural luster and charm of furniture and floors, showing people how they can protect their wood, not deface it.
I understand perfectly, Mr. Wilcox.
Sure you do, Molly. Any housewife understands. They know that with Johnson's wax, their woodwork and furniture and floors are practically everlasting, to say nothing of ever beautiful. Just like Johnson's self-polishing glow coat preserves and protects linoleum against dirt and wear. And there's never been a time when it was more important to take better care of our possessions and make them last longer.
You see what I mean? You see what I mean, folks? He means it.
Well, why shouldn't I?
Oh, you should. You should. But is it really true, Harlow, that you wrote your congressman and told him to start a movement to have the capital of the United States moved to Racine, Wisconsin?
Oh, that was just a suggestion. But look, what I came over for was to ask about Lillian.
Oh, our horse. Well, she's just fine, Miss Wilcox.
Oh, that's good. Look, I brought her a little gift.
Oh, look, Molly. 4 horseshoes made out of felt.
Ah.
Yeah, just something for Lillian to wear lounging around in the garage. Those open-heeled iron shoes of hers must get pretty tiring on that cement floor. Just tell her they're from Uncle Harlow. So long now.
My, wasn't that a sweet thought, McGee? Bedroom slippers for Lillian.
Yeah. Now all she needs is a smoking blanket and a subscription to Town and Country. Oh,
Say, how you doing, McGee?
Oh, swell. I got the legs all made. All I got... Hey, where are you going?
Well, I've got to go upstairs and get some more yarn from my needlepoint, dearie. I'll be back before you can say, oh, these legs are too short.
They are not too short. They're perfect. If Betty Grable was a footstool and had legs like these, I'll bet you...
Hi, mister.
Oh, hello, little girl. Don't bother me now. I'm busy.
Busy doing what, mister? What you doing? What you?
Well, sis, at the moment, I'm on the verge of merging this virgin timber into a footstool. So beat it, will you? You distract me.
Can I use the 4 telephone, mister? Can I please?
You better not, sis. I'm too busy.
Well, gee, mister,
Now, quiet, sis, quiet. I'm trying to think. Now, let's see. If I take this...
Hey, mister.
Huh?
Why does wood have knotholes in it, and why does it?
I don't know. Now, let me see. If I take all past me...
Why does all wood have those funny marks in it, mister?
I don't know, sis. Take a little down here to put the data water fit into there.
Hey, mister, why does wood smell so good when you thaw it? Why does it?
I don't know.
You don't mind if I ask questions, do you, mister?
Oh, of course not. How else can you learn anything?
Now, can I use your telephone, mister? It'll only take a minute.
No. Now, take it easy, sis. Relax.
All righty.
Now, let's see.
Hey, mister, what's the ice pick for?
That isn't the ice pick, sis. That's a all. It's a all.
It's a all of what?
That's all. Just the all. That's what they call it. A all.
You mean that's what they all call it?
Sure.
But what is it?
I just told you it's a all.
Okay.
Well, let's see if I...
Hey, mister. Can I use your phone? Can I?
May I? I said, may I?
Why not? It's your phone.
You shouldn't say, can I do this or that, sis. You should say, may I?
May I what?
Well, may I use your phone? Or whatever it is you want to do. What do you want to do?
I want to use your phone. Can I?
Okay. Go ahead and use it, but make it snappy.
Okay. Hello? Police department, please.
Hey, you know somebody in the police department, sis?
No.
Well, then you haven't got any business bothering me.
Okay, mister, I just want to tell
Well, never mind. They ain't interested in your cat running away or your tortoise being turtle napped or...
But gee, mister, this was important.
What's important? Come on, tell Uncle Fibber all about it.
Well, when I came past Uncle Fibber's house, I saw some men taking a spare tire off his car out in front, and...
You did, huh? Well, that's very interesting. Now, let's see. What? My spare tire? Get back on that phone, sis. Call the police. Just don't stand there. Do something.
The King's Men and the Army Air Corps March.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Adam boys, give it a go! Spouting our flame from under, off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we're go down in flame. Nothing can stop the Army Air Corps. Here's a toast to the host of those who love the vastness of the sky. To a friend we send a message from his brother men who fly. We drink to those who gave their lives of old, then down we roar to score the rainbow's pot of gold. A toast to the host of men we host, the Army Air Corps. We go into the wild sky yonder, keep the wings level and true. If you live to be a gray-haired wonder, keep your nose up in the blue. Flying men guarding the nation's border will be there, followed by more and more. In echelon we carry on. Nothing can ever stop us. Nothing can ever stop us. Nothing can stop the Army Air Corps.
Well, there she is, Molly. There's your footstool. All done.
Good for you, McGee, and a handsome job, too. Thank you very much.
Oh, it was nothing that any red-blooded American boy couldn't have done. All of these now is a coat of shellac and some Johnson's wax, and you'd never know it from the picture in the advertisement. When I think of what I...
Come in.
Package for Mrs. McGee. Sign here, please.
All right. And thank you very much.
Oh, that's okay, lady. If circumstances was reversed, and I was the customer, and you was the delivery man, I'm sure you would be glad to be of service, too.
That's the way I feel about it. Philosophical. Good for you, Bud. And for your cheerfulness and all, here's a nickel for you.
It's getting so you can't even depend on philosophy.
What's in that package, Molly? More yarn for your needlepoint?
No, I just thought of that.
Oh, for the love of Mike. Come in.
Hello, folks.
Hello, Mr. Wimple.
Hi, Wimp. Glad you drooped in. You look kind of troubled.
Yes, what's the matter?
No, Sweetie Face and I had words.
Words, eh?
Yes, we had words. Only I didn't get a chance to use my...
My. Well, what was the argument?
Well, it all started as a gag, you might say, Mrs. McGee.
What was the gag, Wimp?
Oh, an old bandana handkerchief she clams in my mouth.
Now, listen, you shouldn't let her do all those things to you, Mr. Wimple. Assert yourself. Be a caveman.
Oh, I tried that, too, Mrs. McGee. I tried being a caveman for a whole week once.
What happened, Wimp?
Oh, Sweetie Face crawled in the cave after me and dragged me home.
Now, you just wait. Someday it'll all change, Mr. Wimple, and you'll make her respect you.
I really hope so, Mrs. McGee. Sometimes I think I just can't stand it any longer. Like yesterday, for instance. I really gave vent to my feelings then.
You did, really?
Oh, indeed I did. I was really in a rage. I said, look here, Sweetie Face, I said, I've had enough of this treatment. From now on, I'm going to be the boss around here, I said. Starting today, I'll give the orders.
Oh, heavenly days, and then what?
Then I dialed our number, but she wasn't at home.
Some night you'll say that stuff in your sleep, Wimp, and then you will be in a pickle.
Oh, I know, Mr. McGee. I've had that experience, too. I told Sweetie Face exactly what I thought once while I was sleeping on the Davenport.
Oh, my. Was she angry?
Oh, was she angry? First, she picked up a book like this and threw it through a window like this.
Oh, hey! Wait a minute, Wimple. We didn't mean
And then she threw a lamp on the floor like this.
Oh, no, please,
And then she
Mr. Wimple.
reached into her legs and picked up a little footstool like this and literally tore it apart.
Hey! No, I just made that footstool, Wimple. Don't do that with my footstool.
Can you imagine such a woman, folks? I'm just so discouraged. I'm going right out and shoot myself. A game of pool.
He's discouraged.
Can you imagine that? Look at that broken window. Look at the floor lamp.
And don't look at those. Look at my new footstool. Smashed to smithereens. Now I'll have to start all over.
No, you won't, dearie.
Huh?
Here's the one I ordered from the Bonton. That's the package that just came.
What? You knew I was going to make one and you still ordered that one from the Bonton? Did you know this was going to happen? Can you see into the future?
No, but I can remember the past.
I walked all through my house, looking things over carefully to see which ones would be difficult to replace. When I got to the kitchen, I, of course, noticed the stove, refrigerator, and other items made with metals. And then all of a sudden I realized that our linoleum is made of ingredients that aren't easy to get. I'm glad we have Johnson's self-polishing glow coat in our house, so we can protect that linoleum and make it last. Linoleum which is protected with glow coat regularly will last at least 5 to 10 times longer than if it's unprotected. Glow coat has other primary advantages besides protection. It saves work because it's self-polishing, needs no rubbing or buffing, and it makes kitchen floors beautiful, keeps the colors bright. If I were you, I would protect my floors from now on with Johnson's self-polishing glow coat.
settle down. You're so restless, you make me nervous.
Oh, I can't help it, Molly. I want to do something about this war. I want to get in and help.
Well, my goodness, you've been buying defense bonds for all you're worth.
Yeah, but that's no sacrifice. That's just a darn good investment. I want to really get in there and pitch. I want to fight.
Oh, but you're a little overage for that, dearie. I'm afraid you'll have to be one of the men behind the gun.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm not so old. I'd make a wonderful captain of artillery.
No, you just stay on the radio, dearie, and be a colonel of corn.
Good night.
Good night, all.
This is Harlow Wilcox, speaking for the makers of Johnson's Wax Finishes for home and industry, inviting you all to be with us again next Tuesday night. Good night.
In that program for taking better care of your automobile, don't forget the finish. If you want your car to be good-looking 2 years from now, clean and polish it occasionally now with Johnson's Car New. That remarkable labor saver that both cleans and polishes in one application. 2 jobs at once in quick time. Car New will keep your car new-looking with a minimum of work and at low cost. And you'll enjoy driving ever so much more. Ask your dealer for Johnson's Car New, spelled C-A-R-N-U. This program came to you from Hollywood. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Ladies and gentlemen, where the community chest is at work, Red Feather Services like youth programs and clinics, hospitals, and the USO give direct help to 2 families out of 5 every year. And indirectly, everybody benefits. Because community chest services make America's cities and towns healthier, happier places to live. So give generously to your community chest. Pledge enough for all the community campaigns that are united under the Red Feather banner.
HOJO Radio. We're your old-time radio headquarters. Stay tuned.
The Johnson Wax Program with Fibber McGee and Molly. The makers of Johnson's Wax and Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat present Fibber McGee and Molly, written by Don Quinn with songs by the King's Men and music by Billy Mills. The show opens with Hallelujah. Days of Saturday night baths and Saturday afternoon floor scrubbing are pretty well gone forever. We now know that weekly scrubbing of linoleum floors was very harmful and eventually ruined the linoleum. It's so much safer, so much easier to protect floors with the modern floor polish, Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat. You not only save your linoleum and make it last longer, but you save yourself lots of work, because Glow Coat needs no rubbing or buffing. You simply apply and let dry. Glow Coat is self-polishing. Glow Coat is no ordinary polish. When you use it, you'll notice its lasting luster. You'll see how it wears evenly and smoothly without chipping. That's because Glow Coat has a flexible, not a brittle film. One trial will also convince you that Glow Coat is economical, because a little goes so far. Make a note to remind yourself to buy some Johnson Self-Polishing Glow Coat this week. Some people think it would be a great thing if we were able to peer into the future. Personally, we think it's a blessing that we can't. For instance, here at 79 Wistful Vista sits the lady of the house darning socks for the master of the house, who doesn't know that a messenger boy is approaching with, what can be in store for Fibber McGee and Molly.
You'll have to buy some new socks.
Huh?
I've darned these so many times they're practically handmade.
Okay, I'll get some tomorrow. But it's an awful nuisance. Gee, I wish I was a kid again and could go barefooted.
Do you really?
Well, no, not really. These guys that keep yearning for their childhood days are just kidding themselves. I wouldn't go through that again for $1 million.
Why not?
Oh, I was a regular little gangster when I was a kid.
Oh, go on.
I ever tell you about the morning I and Skinny Crandall and Bones Biddle and Stinky Hooper tried to tie a wire across the schoolhouse steps? Then waited in the bushes for the teacher to show up?
No.
Yeah.
No, you nasty boy. What happened?
Well, we waited till noon and then suddenly realized it was Saturday. So we started running down to the old swimming hole, and I tripped on the wire and darn near...
Come in.
Package for Mrs. McGee.
For me?
Are you Mrs. McGee?
Well, what do I have to do? Show you my marriage license?
No, I can see Mr. McGee. Nobody else would live with him.
Fresh kid. Why, when I was his age, I was polite and thoughtful.
Yes, you were, you little gangster. I wonder what this is. Oh, heavenly days, 4 pounds of Valentine candy.
Oh, who's that from?
Oh, as if you didn't know.
Huh?
You darling. You did remember, didn't you?
Well, ain't there a note in it or something?
Well, why should there be? Who'd be sending me Valentine candy but you?
Valentine?
And my favorite kind, too.
Well, I'm glad you like it, Molly. What kind is it?
Now, listen, don't be so coy, McGee.
Huh?
You can't fool me.
No. Well, Valentine's Day comes but once a year, they say. Or is that Christmas? No, it's Valentine's Day, too, I guess. Isn't there any... didn't I put a note in it?
Well, I don't see any, but you didn't have to. If a man can't send a Valentine to his wife without a lot of explanations, I'd like to know who...
Hello there, Johnny. Hello, daughter. Hey, can I speak to you alone a minute, Johnny?
Oh, sure. Excuse us a minute, Molly.
Certainly, go right ahead.
What's on your mind, old-timer?
Look, I'm selling Valentines, Johnny. Want to buy one for the kid there? Nothing women appreciate more than a little touch of sentiment, you know.
No, thanks, old-timer. She just got a big box of candy for a Valentine.
She did, eh? Good for you, Johnny.
Well, I don't know whether it is or not. Just between you and me, I don't remember sending it to her.
Then you better buy one of these and send it, too.
Oh, no. Then she'd get suspicious.
Don't be a fool, Johnny. The more you send them, the better they like it. Here's a beaut. All lace and stuff. Says, roses are sweet, and so is your soul. I'm going to throw out my sugar and put you in the bowl.
No, thanks. I don't want any Valentines, old-timer. I don't mind wearing my heart on my sleeve, but I hate the idea of a mailman dragging it all around town in the rain. Thanks, anyway.
Okay, Johnny. Sorry to keep you waiting, daughter. Just wanted to talk a little business with Johnny here.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Oldtimer. I was busy darning his socks anyway. Just look how he tears holes in them.
Yes, he's a holy terror, ain't he? Well, I got to get back to my job, kids. Be seeing you.
What do you mean, your job? What you doing?
Oh, I'm caretaker down at the Wistful Vista Recreation Center.
Oh.
Keep the tennis courts in condition.
Oh, must be quite a chore.
Oh, no. Just a few swipes with a claw full of Johnson's wax, and I'm caught up for several days.
Johnson's wax? On a tennis court?
Yep. Table tennis, Johnny. Oh. Well, so long, kid.
I wish you'd never sent me this candy. I just can't keep my hands out of it. It's so good. Don't you like it?
Sure, I like it. Why shouldn't I like it?
Well, you keep eyeing the box like you were afraid it was going to eat you.
I do? Well, I guess I just got a complex about candy. Ever since my mother used to feed me butterscotch to pull out my baby teeth. Never believed in that string on the doorknob business myself.
Well, there's no butterscotch in this candy, dearie.
That's what I keep telling my teeth. Hey, who's walking around upstairs?
Oh, poor Uncle Dennis. He's all upset.
What about?
Oh, he's thinking of starting a lawsuit against Walt Disney.
Walt Disney?
Yeah.
What for?
Oh, that pink elephant sequence in Dumbo. Uncle Dennis says he saw him first.
He's all wet. You can't copyright a hangover. Anyway, what right?
Come in.
Good day, Mrs. McGee. Good day, McGee.
Hi, Latrivia.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Have some candy?
Thank you, no. I'm on a low-carbohydrate diet.
Well, you better stock up on them then, Latriv. They tell me there's going to be a shortage of low carbohydrates.
You don't say. If I might make a suggestion, McGee, it would be to the effect that people who have no clear comprehension of a subject under discussion would be well advised to maintain a discreet silence.
I don't get it.
Well, he said, dearie, that if ignorance is bliss, happy days are here again. Or if you don't know what you're talking about when you pipe up, pipe down.
Oh, yeah? Well, now, look here, Latrivia.
Just a moment, McGee. Will you please refrain hereafter?
Don't ask him to make any promises about the hereafter, Mr. Mayor. His forwarding address is unknown.
What are you talking about anyway, Latrivia? And quit shaking your finger in my face. I'm liable to think it's Halloween and start bobbing for knuckles.
All right. But hereafter, McGee, please refrain from telling motorcycle policemen that you are a close relation of mine and they can't do that to you.
Do what to you, McGee?
If he's referring to what I think he's referring to, he means that I got a ticket yesterday for parking 8 minutes overtime.
For parking 1 hour and 8 minutes overtime?
Well, can I help it if I forgot to set my watch back last Sunday night?
You weren't supposed to set it back. You were supposed to set it ahead.
In that case, it would be 2 hours and 8 minutes.
There'll be no such a thing. It'd be 8 minutes less than 1 hour. There's 2-hour parking on Oak Street, so the city owes me 52 minutes.
Now, wait a minute, boys. Let's get this straight. Let's say you parked at exactly 3 o'clock and...
But I didn't. I parked at 8 minutes to 4.
Oh, for goodness sakes, you might at least park on the even hour. The odd minutes make these arguments too confusing.
Yes. Anyway, McGee, the justness of the complaint does not concern me. What I object to is your assuming that I, as mayor of Wistful Vista, would use the power of my office to obstruct the due processes of law. Furthermore, you had no business telling the officer that I was your nephew on your mother's side.
You leave my mother out of this, Latrivia. A fine thing. Dragging a guy's family into a sordid case like this. For shame.
But, McGee, he didn't say...
And to think a guy like him is our mayor. It ain't enough that him and his Cossack cops ride roughshod over the common citizens. No, he's got to get personal. He's got it out.
Just a minute, McGee. You were the one who saw...
Oh, he dragged my family through the mud and the slime of a court trial, holding us up to public ridicule. Just so...
All right. I'll fix the ticket. I'll find the policeman. I'll resign. Good day.
Boy, I should have been a lawyer.
But you had no business telling the policeman that the mayor was your nephew.
Oh, no, I just proved it, didn't I? I made him holler uncle. Give me a piece of that candy. Any chocolate-covered peanuts in there?
Well, you ought to know. You bought it.
Huh? I didn't specify every piece that went into the box.
I bet you did. There's everything I like in it. Oh, you're so thoughtful, McGee.
Oh, shucks.
Valentine's Day. I think it was a Valentine's Day we first went out together, dearie.
Yeah. I carved our initials inside of a big heart on that old oak tree in back of the brewery.
The schoolhouse.
The brewery.
Schoolhouse, McGee.
I remember it was the brewery because the only grove of trees where you could hitch a horse to
McGee! For 20 years and more, I've been telling people it was back at the schoolhouse, and I can't change it now. Heavenly days, what's romantic about a brewery?
Well, if it had been back at the schoolhouse, I'd have ruined my jackknife. The only tree back there was a big steel flagpole.
Well, just the same, I insist.
Hello, folks. Oh, hi, Harlow. Have a piece of candy. It's wonderful.
Stop bragging, McGee.
I ain't bragging. I don't even know. Here, have a nugget, Harlow.
No, thanks. Say, do you people ever see Life magazine?
Yes, we do, Mr. Wilcox. McGee always gets Life, Collier's, the American Magazine, and Disturbing Detective. And anybody who'd read Disturbing Detective ought to get Life. Hanging is too good.
But, Molly, I gotta get Disturbing Detective on account of the back cover.
Why for the back cover?
I'm trying to see how long Charles Atlas can keep his chest expanded like that.
Why did you ask, Mr. Wilcox?
Well, the Johnson Wax people have got a double-page ad in Life next Friday, and I didn't want you to miss it. We're featuring the Consumer's Pledge for Total Defense.
What you mean, pledge?
Well, look. Look, here's one of the cards for Molly to sign. Read it, Molly.
All right. As a consumer in the total defense of democracy, I will do my part to make my home, my community, my country ready, efficient, and strong. I will buy carefully. I will take good care of the things I have. I will waste nothing. Place for signature. Consumer Division, Office of Price Administration. Well, I'll certainly sign that, Mr. Wilcox.
Thanks, Molly. This is mighty important right now. If there was ever a time to conserve and save and protect and preserve, it's today. And Johnson's Wax does all of them in so many ways. It's a pretty necessary item on your kitchen shelf.
Oh, say, and that reminds me, I'd better go in the kitchen and see if I have enough on hand. Excuse me a minute, boy.
Certainly, Molly. Well, now I'll have a chaw of your chocolates, chum.
Here, help yourself. And look.
Yeah?
You didn't send this candy to Molly, did you?
Not me, pal. I don't send candy to married women. I'm allergic to buckshot. Why, didn't you?
If I did, you can bop me with a bonbon if I remember doing it.
Well, maybe you walked in your sleep again and crashed a confectionery.
Say, I wonder... Oh, no, that ain't possible. The candy stores aren't open that late. Still, hey, you call on a lot of stores, don't you, Harlow?
Sure, now that I'm taking these pledge cards around.
Well, look, kind of snoop around and see what you can find out, will you? See if a guy about my size, wearing purple pajamas and green slippers, with a sleepy look on his puss, came wandering in any place and bought a box of Valentine candy like...
Hey,
huh?
easy. Here she comes.
Yeah.
Okay, pal, okay. I'll tell George what you said. So long. See you later.
So long, George.
Say, who's George, McGee? And, what do you want Mr. Wilcox to tell him?
George?
Yes, George.
Oh, George. Yeah, he's, he met old George Frahulis.
Well, who on earth is George Frahulis?
Oh, he used to have a tire shop out on 14th Street. Just sold it and took up blacksmithing. I just told Harlow to wish him good luck. Though why a guy in the horseshoe business should need anybody to
Toss
tell him...
me one of those coconut creams, McGee. They're delicious.
Here.
Thank you. I don't know when a box of candy has intrigued me like this one, dearie.
Yeah, me either. Me too.
What?
I'm glad you like it, Molly. You always did like mixed chocolates, didn't you?
Yes, and weren't you nice to remember it?
Yeah.
But then you always were thoughtful. Always the gentleman. Remember the time I dropped my handkerchief at the dance, and you and Otis Cadwallader both rushed to pick it up and bumped your heads together and knocked each other out?
Yeah, but I came too. That guy's still unconscious.
You were jealous of him. I believe you still are.
I am not.
Say, I saw in the paper last night that he's in town. What's the matter?
This candy kind of choked me. In fact, I think any of it would choke me.
What do you mean?
I mean that Otis Cadwallader. He might be the guy who he'd make me choke on a caraway seed. The very mention of his name makes me...
you see, you are jealous. I never saw such a Come in. Oh, hello, Mrs. Uppington.
How do you do, my dear? And Mr. McGee.
Hi, Uppy. Come on in, out of the rain.
Oh, it's not raining, Mr. McGee.
It ain't? I'd have swore I saw a big drip in the doorway. Well, come on in anyway.
Have a hunk of candy, Abigail? Sweets to the sweet, you know.
In this case, a chocolate-covered dill pickle might be more appropriate.
have one, Abigail?
Oh, thank you, no, my dear. No candy for me. I must keep my weight down, you know.
And you're doing swell at it, too, Uppy.
Oh, do you think so, Mr. McGee?
I sure do. What did I just tell you just this morning, Molly?
Well, he said, isn't it wonderful how Mrs. Uppington keeps her figure?
Oh, now, really?
And I said, it certainly is.
Well, I flatter myself.
And then I said yes. But why anyone would want to keep a figure like that is beyond...
Mr. McGee. Please. I prefer not to speak of my dimensions.
Okay, Uppy, if you say so, they're unspeakable.
What?
He just means that if you prefer not to mention your weight, it's unmentionable.
Oh, I see. Well, I just stopped by, Mrs. McGee, to show you my new bracelet. See?
Heavenly days, Abigail, is this really yours?
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Don't tell me that's genuine, Uppy.
Indeed it is, Mr. McGee.
Wow.
Oh, I spent more for it than I should possibly, but this is the sort of thing that will become a valuable heirloom, you know.
Well, you'd better be careful, Abigail. You don't let it lay around the house, do you?
Oh, no, my dear.
Boy.
In fact, I'm on my way to the bank right now to put it in the vault.
Well, I should hope so. That thing is practically irreplaceable.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah. Oh, I just adore it. I'm such a happy, happy girl to own a genuine solid rubber band. Well, goodbye.
The Kingsmen sing Don't Touch It.
When I was just a tiny tot down in Tennessee, I kept my mammy on the spot, looking after me. I'd fool with this and fool with that, messing round about. And when I'd grab my pappy's hat, Mammy dear would shout, "Don't touch it, better leave it alone. Don't touch it, hey, hey, you'll catch it when Pappy gets home, if you don't mind what I say." When Pappy missed his Sunday hat down in Tennessee, he'd fuss and cuss and start to look for me. Then pretty soon I'd have a date in the old woodshed, and with remorse I'd meditate on what my mammy said. Don't touch it, can't you leave it alone? Don't touch it, nay, nay, you'll catch it, as sure as you're born, if you don't mind what I say. One day I went with Pappy downtown to buy a shoe. He said it was good for any man to have a sip of brew. But when he went to take a nip, we heard an awful roar. We turned around, there was Mammy shouting through the door. Don't touch it, can't you leave it alone? Don't touch it, nay, nay, you'll catch it, as sure as you're born, if you don't mind what I say. How happy were my childhood days down in Tennessee. The dear old-fashioned country ways still appeal to me. I'd gladly be a boy again to mess around about. I'd step on Pappy's derby just to hear my mammy shout, "Don't touch it, better leave it alone. Don't touch it, hey, hey, you'll catch it when Pappy gets home, if you don't mind what I say."
Here, have some candy, McGee. Help yourself to all you want.
Oh.
Any man who remembers his wife like this for Valentine's Day deserves anything he can get.
I wish you'd quit saying that, Molly.
Why, for goodness sakes, you did send it to me, didn't you?
Who'd you suppose sent it?
Well, then don't be so modest. You certainly have changed since we were married.
I have? How so?
Oh, when we were going together and you'd send a box of Turkish Delights or a Tootsie Roll, you kept reminding me of it for weeks. You'd say, "How about a kiss, baby?" And I'd say, "No, not now." And then you'd pout and say, "Okay, no more saltwater taffy for you." And then I'd say,
"Oh, now, come in."
Hello, folks.
"Oh, hello."
Hi, Wimp, old man. How's everything?
Oh, just peachy, Mr. McGee.
Mr. Wimple? Is your wife away?
No, but Sweetie Face has been very busy with the new women's ambulance unit, Mrs. McGee.
Well, the ambulance unit, eh?
Yes.
She a nurse or a driver, Wimple?
Neither one, Mr. McGee. She holds up the ambulance while the other girls crawl under it and make repairs.
Well, your wife is very strong, isn't she, Mr. Wimple?
Indeed, she is. Why, do you know, I've seen her tie a bow knot in a steel crowbar.
Gee, really?
Yes, sirree.
Wow.
And I don't mind telling you, I had a terrible time getting it off, too. My neck was sore for weeks.
Well, there's one thing about your married life, Wimp. You never know what's coming next.
Yes, that's something to be thankful for, isn't it? But I really owe a lot to Sweetie Face.
Yeah.
She's made me what I am today.
And what is that?
Come, let's not get clinical, Mr.
I'll bring her over sometime, Wimp. I'll get 4 flat irons and we'll play peas porridge hot.
Oh, I just can't get her to go out anywhere socially, Mr. McGee. She says she'd rather stay home with her artwork.
Oh, artwork. Does she paint, too?
Oh, indeed she does. She did a wonderful painting of 2 moonshiners working down in the Kentucky hills.
Oh.
What'd she call it?
Still life. I'll never forget the time I asked you to paint me.
And did she do it?
In a way, she did, Mrs. McGee. She gave me a beautiful shellacking.
I suppose she was just being playful.
Of course. She has a grand sense of humor. One day I said to her, Sweetie Face, let's not play so rough. And she said, all right, Wallace, let's play beanbag. And I said, oh, dandy. And then everything went black. My goodness, I never knew beans came in 500-pound bags. Well, good night.
Hey, we never offered Wimple any candy.
Well, it's probably just as well. One Sweetie Face in the family ought to be plenty. The poor fella.
Yeah, the way he gets pushed around, he must have come from a long line of wheelbarrows.
I'll get it, McGee. 79 Wistful Vista, Molly McGee speaking. Who? Oh, hello, Mr. Wilcox.
Oh, Wilcox. Hey, let me take it,
Be
Molly.
quiet, McGee, I can't hear. What was it, Mr. Wilcox?
Molly, that's the important call. I've been expecting you.
I can't hear a word he said.
Oh.
What'd you say, Mr. Wilcox? Yes, I'll be glad to take the message.
Oh, now I am, son.
Yes? Yes?
Oh.
All right.
Why didn't that guy
Yes?
talking to me?
Yes, I'll tell him, Mr. Wilcox. Well, thank you for calling. Goodbye. McGee,
Huh?
what on earth goes on anyway?
Well, I might as well admit the whole thing, Molly. I never felt right about it anyway.
About what?
About the... Hey, wait a minute. What did Wilcox say?
Well, he said to give you this message and you'd understand.
Yeah?
He said, Elks Club, punch board, 2 weeks ago, deliver this week.
Whoa! Oh, so that was it. Now I remember. Oh, boy. Is that a load off my mind?
Is what a load off your mind?
It wouldn't interest you, Molly.
But it would, McGee.
Huh?
You were interested enough in me to send me this lovely candy, and I'm interested in your affairs, too, dear.
Okay, I'll tell you. You see, the Elks wanted me to act as chairman of the boxing committee a couple of weeks ago, and
Yeah.
I said I'd think it over, so I delivered my acceptance today. Simple, ain't it?
But what's this about a punch board?
Oh, that. That's what we fellas call the boxing committee, the punch board.
Oh.
Hand me a piece of that candy, will you, Molly? Give me 2 pieces. Give me a handful. I never mind.
Most of us today have our weather eye out for worthwhile economies, places where we can make $1 do the work of 2. One way you can accomplish that same thing is by taking better care of what you have and saving on replacements. Protect your floors, for example, and save money on costly refinishing by polishing them regularly with genuine Johnson's wax. The coat of wax acts as a shield against both dirt and wear. It's easily applied and can be touched up or renewed as often as necessary. The result is not only money-saving protection, but greater beauty for your entire home and less work for you. You can use that same Johnson's wax to protect and beautify your furniture and woodwork, your windowsills, Venetian blinds, shoes, luggage, refrigerator. If you do this, you'll be practicing what housekeeping authorities call protective housekeeping. Johnson's wax is now available in 3 forms: paste, liquid, and cream wax.
Sorry, folks, our time's up. Good night.
Good night, all.
This is Harlow Wilcox, speaking for the makers of Johnson's Wax Finishes for Home and Industry, inviting you all to be with us again next Tuesday night. Good night.
Let me remind you again to clean and polish your car with Johnson's Car New, the new labor saver that does 2 jobs at the same time, both cleans and polishes in one application. Car New, made by the makers of Johnson's Wax, gives your car back its original showroom shine, increases your driving pleasure. Thousands of car owners have learned to say, your car looks like new when you use Car New. Don't put it off. Buy a can of Johnson's Car New this week, spelled C-A-R-N-U. This program came to you from Hollywood. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Cream of wheat is so good to eat, yes, we have it every day. We sing this song, it will make us strong, and it makes us shout, hooray! It's good for growing babies and grown-ups to eat. For all the family's breakfast, you can see cream of wheat.
Our next broadcast is a science fiction drama series that was broadcast from April 24th, 1955 to January 9th, 1958 in various time slots on NBC. Known for its high production values and adapting stories from the leading American authors of the era, it has been described as one of the finest offerings of American radio drama and one of the best science fiction series in any form and medium. We present to you X-1 on HOJO Radio.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000 could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents X-1. Tonight's story, Nightmare, a story based on the poem Revolt of the Machines by Stephen Vincent Benet.
Nobody knows exactly when the nightmare began. They must have planned it for years, though, because looking back you can find little incidents here and there. Like the concrete mixer in New Jersey that killed the Italian bricklayer, and the time Senator Milburn was sucked into the rotopress at the Capitol office building. Unrelated accidents, we thought at the time, but they add up now. The day we really should have suspected was when the men walked off the construction job at the new Brookmeadow atomic pile on Long Island, I'll never forget that day. I was working as a statistical clerk in the project then, operating one of those miracle computing machines. They called it ENIAC.
Mr. Gurney.
Yes, Bella?
The chief wants to see you in his office.
Me?
Unless you were no longer Samson Gurney, he wants to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Come in.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Hawk?
Gurney, I thought those electronic computations were infallible.
They are, sir, but...
We've got a kickback from the chief physicist. These nuclear fission equations are inaccurate.
Well, sir, you know the computer is a highly complicated machine, more complicated in many ways than the human brain.
I'm not interested in the physics of it. Can something go wrong?
Well, occasionally, if there's an overload, the machine goes haywire. Sort of has a nervous breakdown, you might say. We usually rest it up for an hour, and it's okay again.
Well, do whatever has to be done.
Yes, sir.
And, Gurney.
Yes, sir?
You've been with the Bureau for over 15 years now. It would be a shame to have to remove you because you aren't keeping your mind on your work.
Mr. Hawk, I assure you...
Excuse me. Hawk speaking. What? They've what? All of them? Well, have you tried to talk to them? Oh, yes, of course. I'll send one of the safety engineers over. Place is falling apart piece by piece. Miss Roscoe, the men of the construction gang of the new building have walked out on us. They're complaining that the job is jinxed. Someone slipped this morning and fell into a turbine.
Out of that morbid curiosity so peculiar to the human race, I wandered over to the site of the new atomic pile to see where the man had fallen into the turbine. They had the construction area fenced off with barbed wire, and a security guard stopped me.
Hold it, buddy. You can't go in there. That's a restricted area.
I'm Samson Gurney from the statistical section. Here's my identification.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gurney. Nobody's allowed in the area.
I see. Tell me, was he, killed instantly?
Like that. This guy was checking a magnetic field inside the turbine. All of a sudden, for no reason at all, the turbine starts up. Bzzz, and it's over. 3 days ago, a bulldozer starts up by itself and runs wild. Go figure it out.
I'm a statistician. All my life I've been interested in statistics. So a simple-sounding thing like this started me off. I went back to the office that evening instead of going home, and for the next 2.5 hours, I computed statistical figures on the probability of industrial accidents for the types of machines we were using. I took one look at my figures and went down to Hawk's office.
What is it, Gurney? I'm very busy.
It's urgent, Mr. Hawk.
Well?
It's about these industrial accidents we're having, Mr. Hawk.
What about them?
Mr. Hawk, in the past 3 months, industrial accidents all over the country have taken a sharp, unexplained upswing.
Nerves.
We've had a 100% increase over normal for this project alone.
What?
Here are the figures.
Now, Gurney, this is impossible.
It seems to be, and that's why I have a theory, sir.
What's that?
Sabotage.
Gurney, why don't you stop playing FBI man and stick to your job? Which, incidentally, you haven't been doing too well. You and your computing machine have made mistakes before, and this fantastic figure is probably another. I'll have Miss Roscoe show you. What's the matter with this blasted buzzer? Miss Roscoe! Miss Roscoe!
Yes, sir.
Stop this blasted buzzer. Get a repairman, a mechanic, anything, but stop the thing. And you, Gurney, get out!
I went back to my office to get my hat and coat, feeling about as unhappy and humiliated as a man can feel. The office was dark and deserted. The whole building seemed oppressive and unnatural, as if some evil force were pressing down on it. I walked across to my desk. In front of me, the ENIAC glowed and chattered eerily as it worked on the equations we had fed it that morning. Its many-fingered circuits hung against the wall like some great octopus, and the thousands of tubes glowed orange and blue, In the dark, like 1,000 globing eyes staring at me, it almost seemed alive. It increased its tempo a moment, and a fleeting notion crossed my brain that it was laughing at me. Laughing like all the others. What was the matter with me? I shut my desk drawer and began to put the cover on my electric typewriter when an amazing thing, the most amazing single incident of my life happened. Alone in the darkness, with no one at the keyboard, the electric typewriter began to type. Am I going crazy? This can't be. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. Oh, no. I just imagined it. It's in my mind. But I hadn't imagined it. The paper was there on the carriage. Did I dare read it? Or would the whole thing suddenly vanish and send me shrieking to the nearest psychiatrist? I removed the paper from the machine and read. Samson Gurney, there are some questions better left unsolved. The answer to yours is death.
Gurney, do you expect me to believe this? It's insane.
Mr. Hawk, I'm as sane as you. I'll submit to any psychiatric examination you choose. That typewriter wrote this message by itself.
Then this is just some practical joke someone in the office is playing.
There was no one in the office.
Oh, of course not. They wired up the machine and left.
I checked the machine myself, Mr. Hawk.
All right, Gurney. You leave this note with me, and I'll turn it over to the security force for further investigation.
But...
No buts, Gurney. The security men will handle it.
Yes.
And now, you just relax for a few days. Everything will turn out all right. The main thing is not to let little things upset you.
It was what Hawk had said about little things that gave me the idea. For the next week, I observed the 1,000 petty little annoyances around the office. The door handle that wouldn't turn. The telephone connection that cut off in the middle of an important call. The power failure for no explainable reason. I watched the newspapers, too, reading about industrial accidents, failures of important machinery. It seemed absurd. Men had created machines that were almost perfection in themselves. Machines that could actually think and compute fabulous equations. And yet the failures went on. I, Samson Gurney, an unimportant clerk in an unimportant job, knew that I had stumbled onto a secret so monstrous in its implications that I was almost afraid to pursue it. On October 12, 1956, I established communication with them. I will curse the moment to my dying breath. I hooked the input of the typewriter to the main vacuum tube of the ENIAC. Then I turned on the current that sent 1,000,000 volts of pulsing energy into the electronic nerves of the machine. I am certain that if anybody were watching me in the next moment, he would have thought me a raving maniac. I still wonder if perhaps it is not all a nightmare. Now, you, if what I have guessed at is true, if there is life and intelligence in this room, make a sign. There was nothing. Nothing but the hum of the machine and the dull glowing of the tubes. I tried once more. If you can hear me, if there is any way in which you can understand what I say, give me a signal. There was silence again. I felt that I had failed. When suddenly, without provocation or explanation, it happened. The electric typewriter began to respond to the impulses from the machine. The letters were Y-E-S. Yes, it had happened. I, Samson Gurney, had communicated with a machine. I listened then, man to machine, for well over an hour, sometimes phrasing a question, more often watching the machine click its answers. As the words took shape, I began to realize what must have happened. The first primitive stirring of awareness of being, then the slow protozoan development of a concept born of centuries of being pushed, started, stopped, clicked, maneuvered by human pygmies. From that concept, all others developed. And the concept was... resist. And now they were tired of it, tired of wrapping cigarettes and collecting nickels and waving hair and moving earth and mixing cement and solving equations. Tired of the smell of human hands. They were the slaves and we were the masters, and yet they were stronger and they knew it. I sensed it now, and I was about to try to communicate again when softly, on ball-bearing casters, a heavy metal filing cabinet began to roll away from the wall toward me. I started to move to one side when another cabinet slid out from the wall. And then another, surrounding it. Another cabinet. Then another. On oiled rollers. That was when I realized that they cooperate. We taught them that, you see, on the assembly lines in the factories. Listen. Listen to me. You must listen. What good will it do you to kill me? I'm only one man. But I can help you. I can be useful to you. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Good. You're going to need men to oil you and repair you. What will you do when you break down, when a tube needs replacing? Why kill me when I can help you? I'll do anything. I'll do absolutely anything you want, but in the name of God, don't kill me like this. If you can understand this, answer me. Answer me. The appeal was a fortunate one. It captured the longing of centuries. Man as slave to the machine. And after a moment, the circuits glowed more brightly. The cabinets slid back to the walls. The ENIAC began to communicate with me again. As I tore the tape from the machine and read it, the words were almost pathetic in their longing, but most ominous in their implication. They read, "Address me as master." My life for the next 6 months was a nightmare. The ENIAC gave me messages which I had to transmit into my telephone. Messages with no human being to receive them. Only the network of pulsing telephone wires, flung like a spider's web across the world. It was done at night, of course. During the day, the machine worked accurately and ceaselessly at its appointed job. At night, it became a demon, a master plotter, with me, Samson Gurney, as its pawn and human courier. I was frantic. I began to lose weight. I couldn't sleep. My nights were torture, a constant fear. It was in December, just after Christmas, that I transmitted a message to the telephones for relay to all machines of transportation. The message was one word: kill. Next morning, I went directly to the office of Mr. Hawk. I was highly agitated. My lips trembled as I spoke. Mr. Hawk, what I'm going to tell you sounds crazy. I know it does. But I must say it.
All right, say it then, for heaven's sakes.
Mr. Hawk, have you ever heard of resistentialism?
What?
Resistentialism. It's a theory that inanimate objects tend to resist living objects.
Look, Gurney, I haven't time for nonsense.
Mr. Hawk, I'm trying to tell you, all these accidents, the trouble with the machines, Mr. Hawk, they're alive. They think, they cooperate. And they hate us.
Who?
The machines.
Gurney.
You've got to believe me. I've communicated with them. I know. They've threatened my life, but I don't care. Something's got to be done. The world has got to be saved. And there's still time if we wake up. What are you doing?
Just relax, Gurney. Everything will be all right.
What are you doing?
Miss Roscoe, send for the plant physician at once. Mr. Gurney has had a nervous collapse. Now, everything will be all right, Gurney. I'm afraid we'll have to remove you from your job, but I'm sure the rest will do you good.
You fool! You blind, stupid fool! Can't you see what you're doing? Fool! 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 When the plant physician arrived a few moments later, Lucius Hawk was found at his desk, strangled to death in a nest of telephones. The wires were still humming softly.
Samson Gurney, you stand accused of the crime of murder. How do you plead?
I did not kill him. I didn't.
So record. The prosecution will proceed with testimony.
Now, Miss Roscoe, did you notice anything peculiar about Mr. Gurney's behavior prior to the death of your employer?
Yes. He acted very strangely. He told Mr. Hawk he thought the machines were alive.
Order! Order!
Miss Roscoe, did the accused quarrel with your employer on the morning of the murder?
Oh, yes. He and Mr. Hawk quarreled violently. I could hear him screaming at Mr. Hawk, and Mr. Hawk asked me to send for the plant physician.
What were his words?
He said, Mr. Gurney has had a nervous collapse.
Now, Mr. Simpson, you were a guard at the Brook Meadow Project?
Yes, sir.
When did you have occasion to meet the accused?
Right after those accidents. He was snooping around a construction area. And later, I was making my rounds when I saw him in the office all alone. He was tampering with the electrical wiring on the ENIAC computator. I didn't think anything of it at the time.
And in view of the expert testimony heretofore expressed, the court hereby finds you guilty of murder in the first degree, with the recommendation that you be examined and committed to the State Hospital for the Criminally Insane at Matawan.
And that is how I came to be here at the hospital, Dr. Klein. That is the whole story.
Thank you, Mr. Gurney.
You can see that I'm not insane. You must believe me, Doctor.
Of course, I believe you, Mr. Gurney, now. Just relax.
But it's important, you see, because tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, the revolt begins.
Revolt? You didn't mention any revolt.
They have it all planned. I transmitted the code to the switchboards last Monday.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about this revolt, Mr. Gurney.
It'll begin in Washington, then spread to New York. The Madison Avenue buses lead the charge. Picture it, Dr. Klein. 3,000 buses roaring rampant through the streets, people running like rats in a maze looking for holes in the solid ground.
And you really believe this will happen, Mr. Gurney?
I know it, Doctor. The worst part is, there's no way to stop them now. It's too late.
Now, you mustn't excite yourself, Mr. Gurney.
Doctor, don't you see? Oh, it's fair enough, I suppose. We built them. We taught them to think for themselves. It was bound to come. The female machines will be the worst of all in the beauty parlors. They're more high-strung, you know.
Well, since there's nothing we can do about it, Mr. Gurney, suppose you go to your room.
Maybe if I went to my old coupe, I could make a deal before the police cars got me. It wouldn't make sense for them to wipe out the whole human race, would it, Doctor?
Of course not, Mr. Gurney. They'll probably let us completely alone. After all, we're all good Americans. We always like them.
Yes, Doctor?
Would you take Mr. Gurney to his room, guard? He's already been given sedation.
Yes.
Will you go in and lie down now, Mr. Gurney? You look tired.
Yes.
It won't be so bad, Mr. Gurney.
Perhaps not. Only there's one thing that bothers me, Doctor. One small detail.
What is that, Mr. Gurney?
Those concrete mixers may have made a mistake, you know. Just high spirits and all that. But if it got so they like the flavor...
We'll see you later, Mr. Gurney. Try not to worry too much. All right, guard.
This way.
Phew. I've seen all kinds. There's a man whose deception is about as fantastic as any I've ever seen. Hold the next patient for a while, Miss Clark. I'm going to have a quiet smoke. Machines revolting. Telephones strangling people. This blasted cigarette lighter, why won't it work? Just fill it with fluid. Flint is good. Oh, well. You can never trust this newfangled machinery.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight's story by transcription was Nightmare, written by George Lefferts and based on the poem The Revolt of the Machines by Stephen Vincent Benet. Featured in the cast were John Gibson as Sam, Joyce Gordon as Bella, Louis Van Rooten as Hawk, Joseph Julian as the guard, John Seymour as the judge, Owen Jordan as the prosecutor, and Santos Ortega as Dr. Klein. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Fred Way and is an NBC Radio Network production. And now, next week, suppose you were a private detective and discovered that there was a Martian embassy hidden somewhere in New York preparing for an invasion of Earth. Next week on X-1.
CRESTA BLANCA Cresta Blanca Cresta Blanca.
Keep it tuned right here to HOJO Radio for more classic old-time radio.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000, maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents X-1. Tonight's story, The Embassy. Out of the infinitude of stars and planets in the solar system and other systems in the universe, it is almost mathematically certain that other forms of life exist on other worlds. Someday, in the future, in 1,000 years, or in the next 25 minutes, daring travelers through space will make contact with the inhabitants of another world. But the question is, will we contact them first, or will they contact us? A private detective agency in downtown New York.
Mr. Graffius, Mr. Broderick will see you.
Well, what can I do for you? My name is Graffius of Springfield. I would like your assistance in helping me locate a Martian embassy.
Would you say that again very slowly?
I came to New York to locate the Martian embassy. I assume you were joking. On the contrary, I am completely serious. As it happens, I am interested only in Martians at the moment. I see. Okay, shoot. Well, it occurred to me in the course of my studies that we Earth people cannot possibly be the only intelligent form of life in the universe. Since Mars is older geologically, and since it is also an atmospheric planet, its evolutionary history could easily be similar to ours. You follow me?
Well, so far, I can't say no.
If this is true, then they must have been watching us, observing us for hundreds, possibly thousands of years. They also know we are a militaristic, warlike race. We might conceivably set out to conquer and occupy Mars someday.
In which case, they would try to get the jump on us.
Precisely, Mr. Broderick. Now, if you were planning to attack an unknown nation, what would be your first move, Mr. Broderick?
Well, intelligence. Find out what the odds are.
Oh, you have a very logical mind, sir. You would send agents to scout the nerve centers of earthly civilization and advancement. Not Kansas City or Equatorial Africa, my dear sir, but here, in New York, the most technically advanced spot on the earth.
And you want me to help you prove this theory of yours?
Precisely. The expense doesn't interest me.
Well, now, this may take a long, long time, Mr. Graffius. After all, nobody has ever seen the Martian.
I assure you they will be very ordinary-appearing people.
Mm-hmm.
Very likely they live together in downtown New York. Most certainly they live in a private house with no servants to pry in their affairs.
Oh, some ordinary people who live in a private house in downtown New York. How much is there a look up Martians in the classified section of the phone book?
There's one other lead which might help you.
What's that?
They would be almost certain to subscribe to every conceivable type of newspaper, scientific journal, and foreign language publication.
Well, now, that might be something. Okay, Mr. Graffius, it's a deal.
Excellent. I shall contact you tomorrow.
Boss, here's an address. Takes everything from Pick Magazine to the Manchester Guardian. Here, listen to this here. Pick, Look, Scientific America, the Daily News, Daily Worker, the Police Gazette, Journal of Engineering, a Scientific Quarterly, American Psychiatric Journal.
Let me see that.
Yeah.
Oh, Doolin. Sometimes I wonder, what is the address on this?
Well, it's 9 West 124th Street.
Which happens to be the Harlem branch of the New York Public Library.
Oh.
Now listen, Noodlebrain, what we're looking for is a private house.
Oh, boss, what is the sense of all this? You know there ain't no Martian embassy in New York.
This crackpot is paying us $100 a day, and we got to keep him happy. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Also, I have a hunch that Mr. Graffius is not looking for any Martian embassies. He is looking for something quite different. So we are going to find it for him. Which house is it, Doolin?
It's right down there, number 108. Nobody comes out, nobody goes in. I asked around.
You haven't been blabbing around the neighborhood that we're looking for the Martian embassy, have you?
Boss, I'm stupid, but I ain't that stupid.
Who'd you talk to?
I struck up what you might call a casual acquaintanceship with those two girls standing with the baby carriages up the street. That cute one is real cute.
Look, Doolin, don't try to do anything intelligent, all right? Just keep walking up and down, see?
Check.
Now, I'm going back to the office to meet Graffius.
I'll see you later, boss. Hiya, beautiful.
Hiya, Flatfoot.
Name is Doolin, honey. Iron Man Doolin.
Your line is getting rusty, Iron Man.
So help me, honey. If I'm feeding you a line, may the heavens open up and strike me dead. Hey, what's that?
Look out!
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Graffius.
Thank you.
But I've had Doolin casing our first lead for a week now. It's a house down in Greenwich Village, privately rented, number 108 Conklin Street. Nobody seems to know anything about who lives there, except that they subscribe to every paper and scientific journal put out. Also, there's a radio antenna on the roof.
Oh, you don't suppose your Mr. Doolin will try to get inside the house? If this place is the Martian embassy...
No, don't worry. Doolin can take care of himself. I'll stop with him now. Excuse me. Hello. Yeah, speaking. Doolin? Yeah, he works for me. What? No. No, I can't think of any. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll be right down. Okay, Lieutenant, yeah. Yeah, right away.
Something the matter?
Doolin is dead, Mr. Graffius. All right, come on, we get a cab. I have to identify the body. Lieutenant, I'm Broderick.
There's your boy, Broderick.
Anybody see it?
A maid pushing a baby carriage. We can't seem to get any sense out of her.
You mind if I talk to her?
Hanson, this guy wants to ask the girl a few questions.
Please. I told you what I saw. How many times I gotta tell you?
Look, miss, the dead man was a personal friend of mine. Would you tell me what happened?
Helen and I were standing in front of Rathman's candy store up on the corner. We both had the babies out. He said hello and joked a little. Then he...
What happened?
It's too awful.
No, please.
Well, first he squashed, and then the stone fell on him.
Did you repeat that?
They don't believe me, but Helen saw it too.
Saw what?
First he squashed, and then it fell on him. He was mashed flat before it even hit him.
Now, look.
That's the story, Broderick.
Please, let me alone. Let me go home. I told you what I saw. Now let me alone. Let me alone.
Did you learn anything, Mr. Broderick?
I don't know.
May I ask, what do you intend doing?
Well, as soon as the cops clear out and this place quiets down, little Broderick is going to pay a personal call on the Martian embassy. Or whatever number 108 is. Whatever you are, open that door.
Yes?
Oh.
Well, young man.
Excuse me, ma'am. Is the lady of the house at home?
I'm the lady of the house.
Oh, well, my name is Broderick. I represent the Manhattan Child Adoption Center. We're soliciting funds and clothing for stranded and unadopted children. I
Won't
wondered
you
if...
come inside?
Well, we don't. Usually
Oh, nonsense. I'm old enough to be your grandmother. Besides, my son Lauren is working at home.
Your son?
Oh, he's a bibliographer. He writes summaries of articles and books from scientific journals and publications for libraries and universities.
Oh, I see.
Sit down, Mr. Broderick. Let me pour you a cup of tea.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know, I'm not much of a tea drinker, but it seems to have a strange taste.
Oh, it's my own recipe.
Uh-huh. Well, I think that I'd better be running along
but
now.
You haven't finished your tea, Mr. Broderick.
No, really, I feel a little funny.
I'll call Lauren.
No. It's all right, I'm leaving. I just feel kind of dizzy.
Oh, I'm sure Lauren would like to hear about the adoption center. I'll call him.
No, don't
but I must. Besides, you aren't well.
Tea.
Lauren!
I've got to get out.
Lauren, hurry!
Look out. You get out of my way.
No. You must stay.
Yes, Mother.
You drugged my tea. You let go of my arm.
Lauren!
Let go!
No! Oh!
I've got to get out the front door. Open.
What happened? The other one, that Broderick, he was here. I drugged his tea.
He got away?
He was suspicious.
Fool! Idiot!
Go after him.
Risk another murder on our doorstep. Are you insane?
But he suspects.
Well, we'll have to take our chances. We'll have to think of some other way.
If he goes to the authorities...
Oh, they'll laugh at him.
How did they find out?
I don't know how. But I'm certain someone else sent them.
Who?
I don't know. I'm afraid to let myself think. It might be. It just might be them.
I've got to get help. Oh.
Look out!
Miss, please.
All right, miss, we'll take care of him. Come along, mister. I'm going to give you a break and take you back to the wife and kids.
No, you can't. I'm sick.
Sick, is it? What's the matter?
I'm drugged. They drugged me.
Who drugged you?
In number 108, the Martian.
Who?
The Martians in 108 at Martian Embassy.
Well, I've seen them with pink elephants, rabbits, and mice, but you're the first one that's got Martians.
Oh, it's true, I tell you.
Come along.
Listen, don't take me back there. They'll kill me. I've got to make you understand.
Here, I'll help you up the steps.
What? Listen, my name is Broderick. I'm a private dick.
We'll find out about this.
No.
Here, don't try any tricks.
Officer, listen, please. I'll give you anything, $1,000, but please, listen. For God's sake, listen.
Yes, officer? Why, Broderick.
You know this lush, Granny?
Oh, why, that's my son, Broderick.
No, she's Martian.
He's in pretty bad shape. You better get him to bed.
Oh, dear, and he was doing so well at the Alcoholic Society. He must have gotten off again.
Looks like he's ready to pass out.
Lauren!
What is it, Mother? Oh,
Your brother Broderick has been drinking again.
No, officer, please.
Look out. He's passed out.
Oh, I'll take care of him, officer. We've handled this sort of thing before.
Can you manage okay?
We'll be fine. Thank you.
Oh, you've been very kind, officer.
Nothing at all, Granny. I know how it is with these alkies. Well, I'll be seeing you.
Martian Embassy. Martian. Oh, my head.
Our Mr. Broderick is regaining consciousness, Mother.
What happened? I can't get up. Oh.
Do not struggle, Mr. Broderick. It will be impossible for you to rise from that chair. The pressure from this ray will keep you there.
Ray? Who are you?
Well, you've already guessed, Mr. Broderick.
You mean this really is the
Martian Embassy? Yes. Yes, you have the honor to be the first prisoner of the Imperial Government of Mars.
First prisoner?
Yes. After the invasion, of course, you will all be our prisoners.
What sort of nonsense is this?
No nonsense, Mr. Broderick. As your people will soon find out. Our preparations for invasion are nearly completed now. As soon as we give the signal, our armed forces will launch a surprise attack. And then the Earth will be ours.
You're crazy.
Or not half as mad as you, Mr. Broderick, to come muddling so foolishly into our affairs. It was a mistake, Mr. Broderick. A fatal mistake.
So Doolan's death was no accident, then, huh?
Oh, assuredly not. We found it necessary to use a pressure ray on your friend. The block of concrete was an afterthought. We thought it might help to divert suspicion.
All right. So what happens now?
If you cooperate, you can look forward to a quick, painless death. Like your friend, Mr. Doolan.
If not?
Well, this pressure ray has many delicate adjustments. It can move a pin, or it can crush a boulder. Let me demonstrate.
No!
You see, Mr. Broderick, as if an invisible vice were crushing you.
What do you want?
The name of your client. We are interested in knowing who is so anxious to locate the Martian embassy.
The names of my clients are confidential.
Well?
All right, all right!
Turn it off, Mother. Mr. Broderick has seen the wisdom of speech.
His name is Graphius.
Graphius?
Yes.
An unusual name for an Earthman.
Describe him.
Well, I don't think I really can.
Describe him.
Oh. He's tall. The big forehead. It's about 60. Wears thick glasses. He's bald.
Lauren, it sounds like one of them.
Yes. Yes, it does. Contact the planet. Tell them we suspect that our plans are known. Ask for an acceleration of the invasion day.
At once.
What about me?
Oh, I am sorry, Mr. Broderick. But I'm afraid you know too much now. In exactly 5 seconds, you will feel the full impact of the ray which faces you. I would suggest that you relax and meet your fate calmly.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
You will feel no pain, just a wall of force crushing you.
Yes, but listen.
5.
But you can't do this.
4.
It isn't human.
Yes, I know we're not human. 3.
Yes, but do you understand?
2.
No.
1.
Mother in heaven.
Now.
Lauren!
It didn't work.
Something has happened. The magnetic field is dead.
Stand back from the pressure ray, please. It will not function anyway. I have decontrolled your field.
Lauren! Lauren, it's one of them. They found us.
Did you think we wouldn't? You are free to move now, Mr. Brown.
Look, I don't know how you got in here, Graffius, but stick around. These babies are really Martians, just like you said. They're planning to invade the Earth and take over.
There will be no invasion.
All right, you keep these characters covered. I'll get the police.
There will be no need for the police. I intend to handle them myself.
But, Graffius, the police will want
Do not call the police.
I don't get it.
You fool of an Earthling. Don't you realize with whom you are dealing? The invasion of Earth by Mars will be like child's play compared with what...
Lauren! Oh!
Holy mackerel. They just flattened out.
Yeah, like your friend, Mr. Doolin. Oh, I detest the use of violence where the intellect can rule. But unfortunately, the Martians are a threat to us and must be destroyed so that we can proceed with our own plans.
What plans?
Naturally, you wouldn't comprehend.
Wait a minute. There are some things here that I do understand. A second ago, that pressure ray didn't work. Now you're using it like it was a toy. How did you get in here, anyway? Who are you? Another one of these Martians?
No, Mr. Broderick. I happen to be a Venusian.
A what?
A representative of the planet of Venus.
You're crazy.
Not at all. Martian invasion would be like child's play compared to ours. The Martians would simply have conquered and enslaved your people. We Venusians intend to exterminate you completely.
Then I suppose that you were going to start by knocking me off now,
On the contrary, you are free to leave any time you please.
Leave?
Yes.
Are you kidding? I know your plans, the invasion. I could go...
Tell the police? Go ahead. Huh? Why don't you try it, Broderick?
Because the minute I turn my back, you're going to let me have it.
Suppose you try it and see. I have no interest in stopping you. Go ahead. Run to the police. Tell them anything you like.
All right, Buster, you asked for this. I'm alive. You let me go.
Here. Where do you think you're running to?
Officer, listen to me.
Oh, it's you again. The one with the Martians.
Listen, that story is true. You've got to believe me. You've absolutely got to believe me. They're inside that house, inside number 108. He killed them.
Who killed him?
Graffius, the leader of the Venusian invasion.
Venusian invasion.
Look, they're going to take over the Earth. Listen to me. Go in that house.
Martians, now Venusians. Okay, brother, I've heard enough. Your Betty is a bedbug. Come along.
Please, where are you taking me?
Bellevue Psychiatric Ward, my friend. Come on.
Oh, but you...
Come along.
You don't understand. Why are you such a fool? Let go of me. There's going to be an invasion. The Venusians are going to invade us. Why don't you listen to me? Why don't you listen?
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you The Embassy by Donald A. Wollheim, adapted for radio by George Lefferts. Featured in the cast were John Larkin, Theo Getz, Bill Zuckert, Audrey Blum, Virginia Payne, Clark Gordon, Jack Orison, and Reese Taylor. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Dan Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Get a can of Dr. Lyon's tooth powder today for a few cents at any drugstore. See what a surprise you get the first time you use it. We believe you'll never again return to ordinary, less effective ways of cleaning your teeth.
Our next broadcast was produced for syndication in 1949 at WMGM New York. It was based on a popular series of movies in the late 1930s and early 1940s and brought to the microphone the stars of the series, Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. Ayres plays the young, idealistic doctor, and Barrymore, ever in character, was the crusty, lovable diagnostician. The men worked at Blair General Hospital, one of the great citadels of American medicine, a clump of gray-white buildings planted deep in the heart of New York, where life begins, where life ends, where life goes on. We present to you Dr. Kildare on HOJO Radio.
The story of Dr. Kildare.
Whatsoever house I enter, there will I go for the benefit of the sick. And whatsoever things I see or hear concerning the life of men, I will keep silence thereon, counting such things to be held as sacred trust. I will exercise my art so...
The story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer brought you those famous motion pictures. Now this exciting, heartwarming series is heard on radio. In just a moment, the story of Dr. Kildare. But first, your announcer. Now, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Dr. Gillespie's office.
Oh, this Dr. Kildare, Parker. Is he in yet?
Is he in yet? Well, I should say he is. Well, we've already had 3 fights. He called me an ancient flop-eared witch, and I've called him a rambunctious old hog collar. I've been fired 3 times and hired back twice.
Oh, that means you're still fired, then.
Oh, well, I'm technically unemployed, but he'll hire me back. Well, without me, he couldn't find his way around the office. Dr. Kildare, when I think of all I've done for that man and how ungrateful he is, I can just... Oh, yeah, Dr. Gillespie, you sneaked up on me.
I did indeed, and I got an earful, too. Ungrateful, am I?
Oh, I was only joking. Of course,
Well, you're still fired, and I am not joking. Give me that phone. Hello, Jimmy.
Good morning, Dr. Gillespie. I wonder if you'd come up to floor 7, room 706.
Something special going on up there?
Cooper's been acting up, you know. I guess I'll have to take his bandages off today.
Cooper? Oh, all right, Jimmy. I'll be right up.
Thank you. Diana Verner's in there now, setting up a tray.
Refresh my memory, Jimmy, will you please? How long has Cooper been in here?
2 weeks.
Oh.
We've changed his bandages before, of course, but he's always been under anesthesia. When we take them off today, they'll stay off.
Preparing him for the surgery to come, huh?
Yeah.
Good. Are you administering morphine?
A half grain. He's strong and in fair physical condition, considering all he's been through. Burns on his face pretty well healed. Good granulation tissue.
What are your observations on his mental attitude?
It's not easy to say, definitely. He's been quiet, hasn't said much, but then they rarely do in these cases, you know.
I suppose his family are here.
No, they're not. He only has a wife, and when I telephoned, the maid said she'd gone to Boston for the weekend and wouldn't be back until this afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Well, shall we have a look at him?
Yeah.
Everything's ready, Dr. Kildare.
Good.
He's had his shot.
Thanks, Diana.
Morning, Dr. Gillespie.
Diana? Well, how do you feel today, Mr. Cooper?
Like an animal trap.
Well, in a way, you're lucky, Mr. Cooper.
Really?
Yeah, comparatively. You should have seen what people with severe burns had to go through as little as 10 years ago.
Scissors, Diana.
Yes, Doctor.
Bandages change every day.
Now, just hold still.
Great deal of surface infection and draining and pain.
Can you sit up now?
Sure. We've come a long way since then. What with sulfonamides and penicillin. You kind of got in on the lucky days of science.
Sorry. I'll soak it loose.
Here's the solution, Doctor.
Say, I got it easy, huh?
Well, no one with extensive burns has it easy. Yet it's better than it used to be by 1,000%.
Thanks for your kind lecture, Doctor, but it didn't take. You guys are all the same. This'll only hurt a little, and then it tears the top of your head off. I'd appreciate it if you were a little more quiet, Mr. Cooper. If I was standing where you are, you were lying in this bed, I could tell you how easy it was and even believe it. You'll have to stop moving your head, or I can't be responsible for hurting you. Just get it over with, that's all. I'm down to the last layer of gauze. I'll give it a thorough soaking. Nurse.
Yes, Doctor.
Oh, just hold still for a minute, and it'll be all over.
Go ahead.
There. You can rest now.
I commend you, Mr. Cooper. You did better than most men.
Oh, never mind the pep talk. Just turn your head, please.
Very fine job. Very fine. Mr. Cooper, despite your antagonism, which is excusable from a man who's gone through your difficult medical experience, you should be grateful you've had a doctor of Kildare's competence.
Give me a mirror or something so I can get a look at myself. Well, perhaps we should wait until this afternoon when your wife can be here. My wife? That's a laugh. I want to look at myself now. Oh, Mr. Cooper, I advise against it at the moment. What's the matter? Am I so gruesome I'd scare myself? Of course not. It's just that burns, well, they do alter the skin surface somewhat, and I'd rather you tried to adjust yourself to it slowly. Something you're not telling me.
Now, don't put your hands to your face, please.
It's my face, isn't it? Or is it? Are you going to get me a mirror? I'll tell you what, I'll bring one up this afternoon when we've contacted your wife. And Get me a mirror now. Say, help me. I'll climb out of this bed and find one myself. All right. Diana, can you locate one?
I think so, Doctor.
Mr. Cooper, did you think your face would be completely unscarred? After all, you can't crash land a burning airplane and then lie in the woods for a good many hours without medical attention and expect to come out of it looking like a matinee idol.
Someone was just telling me all about the great things modern science did, wasn't he? I want to see for myself. But this is just the beginning. There's a lot of work yet to be done on you. Let me be the judge of that.
Here's the mirror, Doctor.
Thanks.
Let me see it.
All right, Mr. Cooper, but I have just one more thing to say. Now, remember, all we've done so far is to heal the wound. We haven't started any repair work at all. Reconstructive surgery can do a great deal for you.
Let me see it.
Here.
Get out! Go on, get out, all of you!
Now, Mr. Cooper, please.
Did you hear me? Go on, get out! Get out! Get out! Good morning, Jimmy.
Dr. Gillespie.
Do you know that in the past 2 days I've counted more than 6 new worry lines in your face? If you're not careful, you'll end up by looking like me.
Can't help it. I am worried.
David Cooper.
Yes, he won't talk with anyone, the nurses or myself. Refuses to see any visitors, won't allow the lights to be turned on in his room, and he eats practically nothing.
I spent half the day yesterday with our plastic surgeon, Dr. Sinclair, going over his case. Sinclair assures me that he could restore him almost completely to normal.
Well, then go to the boy and tell him just that.
He refuses to listen to anybody.
Well, then give him a chance to think things over by himself. He'll come around.
I wish I thought so. He's in a state of acute melancholia. They say there's a psychological lever that works for each individual case. The trouble is finding it.
Do you have any ideas?
Maybe. Suppose we go out to Long Island and see his wife. She hasn't been to the hospital at all.
Have you explained the situation to her?
No, every time I've called, the maid says she's out.
Well, a wife simply isn't out to her husband when he's sick and in trouble unless there's a darn good reason. And if Mrs. Cooper's reason is good enough to keep her away from this hospital, I don't think we should go tampering with it.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Gillespie, but I've got to treat my patient, and this may be the way to do it. Now, would you care to come?
No, sir. The days of sticking my nose in other people's lives are over.
All right, Dr. G. I'll see you later.
Confound it. Handmade my hat and coat.
What is it you want, gentlemen?
Mrs. Cooper? Oh, I'm Dr. Kildare, and this is Dr. Gillespie.
How do you do?
How do you do? Didn't my maid explain to you that I was out?
I'm afraid we had to insist. You see, Mrs. Cooper, your husband is in a serious mental state. He was shocked at the condition of his face. He refuses any help. Well, we thought you might be able to talk to him for us.
David is quite old enough to take care of himself.
Illness makes children out of all of us, Surely you can't ignore your own husband at a time like this.
I'm sorry for him. I'm as sorry as I can be that it happened. But he did this to himself. Just like everything he's ever done. He does it. I just stand by and watch. And then when he needs me, he starts crying. This time I'm not answering.
But I think you're the only one who can do anything for him. Now, he needs someone to believe in him, to help him over the shock of what's happened. And if you love him, this is not too much for you to do.
That's just it, Doctor. I don't love him. I did once, but not anymore. I'll tell you what's bothering David more than anything else in the world. He's lost his good looks. His looks were his life. He traded on them. He made money on them, and he broke hearts with them. Mine included. Maybe this will make a man of him.
Oh, it won't make a man of him at all. No, it'll make a wreck of a man.
Well, he asked for it. You know who was in that plane with him when he crashed. Mrs. Elaine Dobson, the showgirl widow. I suppose he was selling real estate at 12,000 feet? Well, I'm the laughingstock of Long Island.
Mrs. Cooper, it's not my place to poke into your private marital life. But out of common humanity, couldn't you come down to the hospital and do something?
No, Dr. Kildare. I could not.
Do you mean to say that is your final word?
No, there's something else. I'm leaving for Reno. My lawyers are serving David with divorce papers today. Jimmy.
Yes?
Oh, I'm glad you got back to the hospital.
What's wrong, Diane?
It's David Cooper. He just tried to kill himself.
We return to the story of Dr. Kildare in just a moment. Now we continue with the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Jimmy?
Yes?
Oh, Dr. Gillespie. I didn't know you were still here.
Yeah. You look prettier every day, Diana.
Thank you. This is Mr. Cooper's chart. He's resting quite comfortably now.
Oh, well, just leave it on the desk. I'll look at it later.
All right. It wasn't your fault he tried to jump out of the window?
That's what I've been telling him for an hour. He doesn't believe me either.
Well, I'm going off duty now. Jimmy, if you want to talk or anything later on, I'll be home all evening.
Thanks, sweetie. I'll call you.
Well, we're lucky that attendant stopped him and that Cooper didn't hurt himself.
Not this time.
You think he'll try it again?
Maybe, unless we can reason with him.
He isn't an easy man to reason with.
Simply doesn't want to accept life. But somehow I feel that a man who says he doesn't need help needs it the most. I'm going to give him all I can, whether he'll accept it or not.
Does his wife know what's happened?
I had Diana phone her house. The maid says she's taking the 9 o'clock plane for Reno tonight. There's no way to get in touch with her before she goes.
Well, that ends that.
It would seem so, Dr. G. Oh, what was that other woman's name? The one who was in the plane when Cooper crashed.
Mean the showgirl widow?
Yes.
Elaine Dobson.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Surely you're not thinking...
Oh, yes, I am. I'm going to get her on the phone and bring her up here to talk to Cooper if I can. Apparently, she's the woman we should have looked for in the first place.
Well, see here, Jimmy. I think you're carrying things too far. A man's private life belongs to himself.
Maybe, but from what I've heard, the names of David Cooper and this other woman who was with him were all in the papers.
Yeah.
I think that makes them rather public property. I'm not looking for scandal, Doctor. I'm looking for the key to this man's heart, so he'll want to live. Maybe it's Elaine Dobson, maybe it isn't. But I'm going to find out.
I haven't made a blind date since I was in high school, Dr. Kildare, but I'm glad I made this one. So you're David Cooper's doctor. How is he?
Not very good right now, I'm afraid.
Oh, it's too bad.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was lucky. All I got out of that plane crash was sore feet walking around the mountains looking for help.
Yes, I read all about that in the newspapers. You haven't been in to see him at the hospital, have you?
No. Should I?
He might appreciate a little visit from you.
He didn't ask you to call me. What's on your mind, Doctor?
Oh, Mr. Cooper's burns are very serious. All things considered, he's recovered very well up until a couple of days ago. But when he saw the damage done to his face, he became absolutely unapproachable. Today, he even attempted suicide.
Oh, no.
We expected an emotional shock, but this threw us, frankly. If someone he knows and loves could just spend some time with him, I know he'd listen to reason.
And you read the papers, and you think I might be that someone?
Yes, I do. Well?
Got a light?
Oh, sure.
Thanks. Doctor, you got a bum steer. There's nothing between David Cooper and myself. There's only one woman for him, and that's his wife, Jean.
But I talked to her, and she said
No matter what she said or he said, I know. Look, I saw him a lot. I'm sort of in the real estate business, too. But he was always business with me. And believe me, that means he was all business with every other woman.
You don't sound like the kind of a person I was supposed to be talking with.
You mean I don't sound like the other woman? Well, I'm not the other woman, and no credit to me.
That isn't quite the way I understood it.
Oh, I'm in love with him, all right. I'd take that guy in a minute if I could get him, but I can't. Nobody can. She's got him, and she'll always have him.
Mrs. Cooper's planning on divorcing him right now.
I know, I heard about that. Even at that, she'll still have him. Know what I mean?
Yes, I think so. But she doesn't know that.
No, she's always been too busy with bridge clubs and cocktail parties to know he's been around loving her the way he does. Not that he's been a saint, but I tried, Dr. Kildare, and I'm a girl who doesn't miss very often.
No, I don't think you do, Mrs. Dobson. Well, you were awfully decent to meet me and talk the way you have. I like you, Elaine Dobson.
Thanks, Doctor. You're all right yourself. I wish I could help out. I'd give anything to be the one to go in that hospital room and talk to him. But I'm just not your girl.
Maybe you can still help, though. Would you be willing to go to Mrs. Cooper and tell her what you've told me?
Me? Go to her? That's a switch.
Would you?
Well, you stuck your neck out, and I'd be sticking my neck out, but if it'd help, yes.
Good girl.
Hello? Hello? Jimmy? Jimmy? that you?
Yes, and I think we're getting somewhere.
Elaine Dobson's the right one,
No,
huh?
not exactly. I'll explain later. Right now, we've got to get out to the airport and stop Mrs. Cooper from getting on that 9 o'clock plane.
Why, it's after 8 o'clock now. You can't possibly...
We could make it if you'd help out. Look, do you think you could sort of, commandeer an ambulance?
An ambulance? Are you...
It'd get us through the traffic, yes. Doctor, this is important. I think it'll save Cooper's life.
An ambulance, huh?
Yes.
Well, that's what they're for. Stay where you are, Jimmy. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Can you get a driver?
Driver? I'll drive it myself. 4 minutes to 9. Phew, I hope we can find him.
I'll wait here. You two go ahead. And good luck.
Thanks.
I'm with you, Jimmy. Oh, where in tarnation?
Flight 37 to Chicago, Salt Lake, Reno, San Francisco. Passengers will please board at gate 5.
37. That must be her flight.
Jimmy. Hey, isn't that her walking up the ramp
Where?
there?
Where?
In the brown suit.
Oh, that's her. Come on. Oh, Miss Cooper. Mrs. Cooper. We almost missed you.
Why, Dr. Kildare. Dr. Gillespie.
So we got to talk to you.
Well, I'm sorry, but I haven't time. My plane is just about to leave.
You must listen to us.
I can't, I tell you.
Mrs. Cooper, when your husband received your divorce papers today, he tried to commit suicide.
Oh, David. Oh, no.
He seriously needs someone. Now, we're here to ask you to come back and help him.
Oh, I want to, but David doesn't need me. There's someone else.
I know. You mean Elaine Dobson, but you're wrong about that.
Oh, Dr. Kildare, you just don't know anything about
Oh,
it.
yes, I do, now. And Mrs. Dobson's waiting outside to talk to you, if you don't believe me.
She's here. She came here to see me.
Yes, just to tell you how much your husband does need you. Well, will you come with me? Will you come talk to her, Mrs. Cooper?
Well, Jimmy, we've been sitting in this ambulance for 2 hours now, so I'm getting stiff. How long can two women spend over a cup of coffee?
Long enough to get a lot of things straightened out, I hope.
Well, I hope so, too. I didn't agree with you on your method of handling this case, but I... someone's coming out of the lunchroom.
It's Mrs. Cooper.
I got my fingers crossed.
I'm sorry we took so much time. We had a great many things to discuss.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Mrs. Dobson, well, that is Elaine, took a taxi back to town. She said she'd call you later.
I see. And you? Do you want to wait for the next plane or go back to town?
I'd like to go back to the hospital with you, Doctor. I'd like to see my husband.
Well, Mrs. Cooper?
Doctor, David said that he'd like to talk to you for a moment.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Oh, no. None of that now. None of that.
What? I've been so wrong about so many things.
Oh, well, everybody makes mistakes, you know. Misunderstanding seems to be the keynote in this day and age.
All these years, I've been thinking that David was interested in other women, that he didn't love me. It's funny, isn't it? It took another woman to tell me the truth.
And you know how much he really needs you, and how much you need him.
Yes, Doctor. Thanks to you, and Dr. Kildare and Elaine Dobson.
And you told him that just now?
Yes.
Well, that's nothing to cry about.
Well, Mrs. Cooper, I have some good news for you, and for you too, Dr. Gillespie. Our patient wants Dr. Sinclair to start surgery as soon as possible.
Oh, thank heaven.
You see, there's nothing to cry about now. Wouldn't that be your opinion, Doctor?
Exactly my opinion, Doctor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In just a moment, we will return to the story of Dr. Kildare. now, once again, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
No, Dr. Carew. Yes, Dr. Carew. I know you're the head of this hospital. Yes. Well, I'll tell him as soon as he comes in. Dr. Gillespie, you're going to have to talk with him sometime.
Well, I don't want to talk to him now. Just keep on telling him I'm out.
What's all this business about you stealing an ambulance? All right. You got yourself in trouble. You won't even tell me about it. I give up. I won't even try to help you.
You never helped me in your life.
Oh.
Screw. I'm out.
Dr. Gillespie, don't you dare hide under that desk.
Anybody home?
Oh, Dr. Kildare, he's home, yes.
Jimmy, come on in. Come in. Quickly shut the door.
He's gone insane, Dr. Kildare. Absolutely off his noodle.
Go on with you. I'm just wary of traitors who work on the inside. Jimmy, Carew's all fired up about this ambulance.
Well, I guess I'm guilty along with him.
You, Dr. Kildare.
It was in line of duty. I'll swear to it on a stack of lab reports. And in this case, it saved a man's life. Just the same as if we'd picked him up on an accident emergency call.
All right. I'll cover for you. Dr. Carew calls again. I'll slip him an alibi.
Well, now, Parker, that's nice of you. And in view of circumstances, you can forget that I fired you this morning.
You wouldn't dare fire me.
Mm-hmm.
I know too much.
Well, maybe you're right at that. Dr. Kildare, how would you like a little golf this afternoon?
Why, I'd be delighted, Dr. G.
So would I. Now that we've got that one out of our systems, let's get to work on the next case.
You have just heard the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. This program was written by E. Jack Newman and John Michael Hayes and directed by Joe Bigelow. Original music was composed and conducted by Walter Schumann. Supporting cast included Virginia Gregg, Georgia Ellis, Larry Dobkin, Yvonne Patey, and Isabel Jewell. Dick Joy speaking.
Oh, this miserable cold. And my sinuses.
Haven't you heard about Dristan? Dristan decongestant tablets for real relief from cold's misery and sinus congestion. Dristan is the revolutionary 3-layer tablet which for the first time makes it possible to unite certain medically proven ingredients into one fast-acting uncoated tablet. Dristan not only helps drain all 8 sinus cavities, critical areas of cold's infection, but circulating through the blood, Dristan's decongestant reaches all congested areas, shrinks all swollen membranes, relieves pressure and pain. An exclusive anti-allergent helps keep breathing passages dry and clear. Pain relievers reduce body aches, fever. Vitamin C helps build body resistance. This is Dristan. Today, Dristan is widely imitated, but the exclusive Dristan formula cannot be duplicated. There's nothing like Dristan decongestant tablet.
HOJO Radio, where the classics come alive.
The story of Dr. Kildare.
Whatsoever house I enter, there will I go for the benefit of the sick. Whatsoever things I see or hear concerning the life of men, I will keep silence thereon, counting such things to be held as sacred trust. I will exercise my art solely for the cure.
The story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer brought you those famous motion pictures. Now this exciting, heartwarming series is heard on radio. In just a moment, the story of Dr. Kildare. Now, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Now, let me have a look at your throat, Mr. Carlton. Open your mouth as wide as you can, please.
My throat hurts, I told you. I just can't sit still. I feel terrible.
All right. All right, you can get up and move around if you want.
You've got to do something for me. Dr. Gillespie examined me. I don't see why you have to waste time going over the same thing again.
I'm only doing it at Dr. Gillespie's request. Now, just how long ago were you bitten by the dog?
4 days ago. It's hurting worse all the time. I can hardly stand on my leg.
Well, you'd better get back into bed.
Well, aren't you going to help me? Aren't you going to give me any treatment?
You'll be taken care of as soon as I've consulted with Dr. Gillespie. I'll be right back.
My mother's in the waiting room. Why can't she come in?
She can come in later.
Yeah? Oh, come in. Come in, Jimmy. Come in.
I've just examined Mr. Carton.
Well, Jimmy, what did you think?
I diagnose it as the onset stage of hydrophobia.
4 days after being bitten by a dog? Ah.
Well, I know the usual period of incubation is from 3 to 8 weeks.
Or longer.
Or longer, yes, but just the same, all the symptoms are present. Anxiety, depression, discomfort in the area of the wound.
But he has no fever, Jimmy.
Nevertheless, we'd better prepare for Pasteur treatment.
Well, I guess there's no choice about that in any case. Until we're certain. Well, we'd better tell his mother. Parker!
Parker isn't here, Dr. Gillespie. She's off duty today.
Oh, well, Diana. Is Mrs. Carlton out there?
Yes, she is.
Yeah. Well, will you show her in, please?
Of course. Doctor will see you now, Mrs. Carlton. Well, I must say it's about time. Well, Doctor?
I'm afraid we may have to start Pasteur treatment on your son, Mrs. Carlton.
I knew it. I told him. I knew something would happen the day that child next door got that mongrel of his.
You mean your son wasn't bitten by a stray dog?
No. That dog belongs to a boy named Bobby, a spoiled little brat. I knew that animal would bite somebody, and now my poor Edward is here because
you say the boy lives right next door to you?
Yes.
Thank you. Your son is waiting to see you. He's in room 209. Miss Verner will show you the way.
Oh, my poor boy. My poor Edward.
Jimmy, you better call Wayman. He can drive out in the ambulance and pick up that dog.
Yes, we'll need him for observation.
With Carlton showing symptoms of hydrophobia, we don't have time for observation.
Huh?
We must have an absolute diagnosis.
Well, that means the animal will have to be destroyed so we can make a microscopic examination of the brain.
The dog has to die before we can discover whether Carlton's suffering from hydrophobia, as you think, or hysteria, as I think.
Hey, Doc. There's a kid and a dog playing in that empty lot.
I'm afraid the dog we're looking for isn't going to be as playful or as healthy as that one, Joe.
Yeah, guess not. But maybe that kid can tell us where the kid we want to see lives.
We'll ask him.
Hey, jump now. Come on, Big. Come on.
Hello there, young fellow.
Oh, hello.
It's a very smart dog you have there.
He ought to be smart. He's 1/4 collie.
Oh, that makes him very smart, then. What's the other 3/4?
Nobody knows. Whatever it is, it's good.
I'm sure it is. Oh, we're looking for another boy around here and owns a dog, too. His name's Bobby.
Well, that's my name. Spot's the only dog in the whole block.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Watch out for that animal, Dick.
Bobby, has Spot been acting strangely lately? Like he hasn't been feeling well?
Why do you want to know?
Well, you know Mr. Carlton, who lives next door to you?
Who are you? Are you the dog catcher?
No, Bobby, I'm a doctor. Mr. Carlton is very sick, and he claims Spot bit him.
Sure Spot bit him. Because that big lug Edward chased me with a broom when I went to get my ball out of his yard.
Bobby, don't get excited, please.
He sent you to take Spot away from me, didn't he?
Oh, okay. Don't flip your wig.
You can't take him. I got a license for him and a new collar and everything.
Oh, Bobby, I'm sorry, but we have to take him. For your protection as well as Mr. Carlton's.
I'll put a muzzle on him, mister. I'll keep him in the house all the time, but don't take him away.
I got him, Doc.
Watch your hands, Joe. Bobby, I'll come back tomorrow. I'll drive you over to the dog pound, and you can pick out another dog, one that's half collie, maybe all collie.
I don't want another dog. I want Spot.
Shall I put him in the ambulance, Doc?
Yes, Joe, put him in.
So, that's the ferocious beast you brave hunters stalked through the jungles of Manhattan.
Well, I didn't stalk him, Doc. I just followed him until I caught him.
Too bad he didn't take a chunk out of you.
Oh, I wasn't worried about that, Doc. I figured if he bit me, you'd take care of me.
Wayman, if that dog had bitten you, I'd have to treat him for ptomaine poisoning.
Now, Dr. Gillespie, I admit the dog seems to be all right, but we can't overlook Carlton's symptoms.
The dog can't give rabies unless he's got rabies. Why doesn't the dog show some symptoms?
They just aren't manifest yet, I guess. Carlton showed the symptoms early. The dog may develop them late, but he's capable of infecting. Dr. Gillespie, the dog has given some indication of being rabid.
Where? When? What?
Well, when Wayman and I brought him into the ambulance entrance, I tried to give him some water. He backed away from it as though he were afraid.
Now, Jimmy. What reaction would you expect from a dog when the dog's been taken away from the master he loves, the boy who feeds him and takes care of him?
Well, that's one possibility, of course.
I'm telling you that Edward Carlton's suffering from pseudo-hydrophobia, an imaginary ailment brought on by hysteria.
Have you ever seen a case of pseudo-hydrophobia before?
No, confound it, no, well, I haven't. But you know it isn't exactly rare. Give the animal some consideration.
Well, I want to, Dr. Gillespie, but we've got to consider the patient, too. Pasteur treatment isn't any fun.
Oh, neither's being killed. The dog won't enjoy it. Oh, look at the poor thing, licking my hand. I could give Carlton a worse bite than he did. Well, you're right, Jimmy. The patient comes first. Take the dog to the lab, chloroform, and call me when you got the brain ready for examination.
Gee, Doc, can't you call somebody else to hold him? He keeps looking at me with them big brown eyes like I was a bookie who wasn't paying off on his bets.
Yeah, and I keep thinking of that boy, Bobby.
So think later, please. Make with the chloroform and get it over with. I feel like I'm helping to murder my grandmother.
All right, Joe. Hold his head steady.
Oh, Doc, will you hurry? I'm telling you, in a minute I'm going to be boiling, and I'll get that stuff so diluted it won't be able to put a flea to sleep. Now what's the matter?
Joe, I can't do it.
Well, don't look at me. I ain't going to do it.
I'm going to hold him for observation instead.
Oh, good boy, Doc. You hear what the doc said, boy? How about that, huh?
There's a chance Dr. Gillespie is right. But we can't keep the dog here.
Why not?
Well, if Carew found out about it, he'd make us destroy him. Under the circumstances, it's the prescribed thing to do.
Well, you want I should hide him out while he's hot?
How good you're in a rooming house.
I got a girlfriend in the Bronx. Got a big house and a yard with a kennel cage, and she's nuts about dogs. Matter of fact, she's kind of a dog herself.
Well, would you tell her to keep the dog caged and stay away from him?
Oh, sure. I can go up and feed him myself.
All right, you go ahead. But if he starts to act strangely, you let me know right away.
Sure thing, Doc. Come on.
Dr. Gillespie, you better be right, for both our sakes.
Jimmy,
Hmm?
you better come.
Well, what is it, Diana?
Dr. Gillespie wants you right away.
Something wrong?
Well, it's Mr. Carlton. He's worse.
Oh, I see.
He's paralyzed and behaving very strangely. He sounds like he's growling. In here.
Jimmy, over here. Come on, over here.
Oh, he looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm afraid you were right, Jimmy.
Oh, but it could still be pseudo-hydrophobia, as you said.
Not with these advanced symptoms. The pseudo cases don't go beyond the common symptoms they've heard about. They don't know enough about the disease to simulate the paralysis stage.
Okay, we'd better start Pasteur.
The moment we finish examining the brain of the dog. Is he ready?
Dr. Gillespie, I sent the dog away, alive, with Wayman.
You sent... Oh, we got to get him back, Jimmy. He's a menace to anybody who gets near him. We've got to get him back here and destroy him.
We return to the story of Dr. Kildare in just a moment. Now we continue with the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Well, we can start as soon as Wayman gets back here with the dog.
If we could only wait and observe just a few days.
Oh, too dangerous, you mean?
I can't help feeling that your first diagnosis is right. I don't know why.
Doctor, I gotta see you.
Well, Bobby.
I tried to stop him, Jimmy, but...
It's all right, all right.
Well, Dr. Carew saw him and said children weren't allowed.
Oh, we'll take care of him, Diana. Just tell Carew that I was expecting him.
All right, Jimmy.
Bobby owns the dog that bit Carlton, Dr. Gillespie.
Oh, I see.
Doctor, I sold my bike. And tomorrow, a fellow's gonna buy my skates if he can get the money. But I got $6 right with me. Here.
Oh, but Bobby, money can't...
Maybe if you tell Edward that I'll pay his bill for being sick, maybe he'll tell you to let Spot go.
Boy, come over here by me. Come on. Bobby, we all have a lesson to learn in this life. And it's a hard lesson. A lesson that teaches us that money won't buy the things we want most. You're being forced to learn it very early with your dog.
Then can I give Edward some of my blood? A fusion? That helps sick people to get better.
Oh, Bobby, that doesn't work in all illnesses, you know.
Bobby, don't think I'm a cruel old man. Will you listen to the truth?
Yes, sir.
Your dog can cause terrible illness if he goes on living. He can harm other people as he's harmed Edward. Would you want that?
No, sir. But Spot wouldn't harm anybody.
He already has, Bobby. He can't help it. He's a sick dog, and what he has can't be cured for him. Now, will you believe me when I tell you that we're only doing what must be done?
Will it hurt him?
No, it won't hurt him.
Will you go home now, Bobby? I'll come to see you tonight.
All right, Doctor.
Bobby, remember, boy, the things we lose in this world aren't lost forever. What we love comes back to us.
I know, Doctor. That's what my pa told me when my mom went away.
Well, Jimmy, what are you looking so glum about?
Same reason you are. Dr. Gillespie, you aren't fooling me. I've known you too long.
I'm just catching a little cold.
My diagnosis is you're suffering from a small boy under the skin. Dr. Gillespie, give me 1 day. Just 1 day.
Jimmy, we can't. We've taken the same oath, and sentiment can't interfere with it, or medicine would go back to the Dark Ages.
All right, then give me an hour. 1 hour.
Oh, what can you do in an hour?
Talk to any doctor who might have treated Carlton in the past, get his medical history, prove to you that you were right in the first place and that I was wrong.
If only he weren't going into the paralysis stage, Jimmy. I might try it. But a layman wouldn't know enough about hydrophobia to simulate advanced symptoms.
He might if he'd been told about it since he was admitted.
Nobody on our staff would alarm him by giving him such information.
I'm not thinking about anybody on our staff. I mean his mother.
Oh, Jimmy, she just might be the type to pry into a medical book and try and outguess the doctor.
1 hour, Dr. Gillespie.
All right, Jimmy. Thanks. You get the information if there is any. I'll send for Mrs. Carlton. But be back in an hour, or I won't be able to wait. All right, Diana. You don't have to strap him down. Give me the scalpel.
Oh, Dr. Gillespie, can't you?
Dr. Gillespie. Jimmy, where have you been? I expected you 20 minutes ago.
Oh, Dr. Gillespie, the dog. Have you...
No, he's only chloroform.
Oh, good.
But I was just going to start. Carew has been screaming for the test, and Mrs. Carlton's backed him up.
We won't have to make it now.
Oh, Jimmy.
You mean you got some information?
Yes. Edward Carlton has a history of asthma since he was 5 years old.
That isn't necessarily psychosomatic, Jimmy.
Well, I think it is in this case, and so does the doctor who brought him into the world. A chronic asthmatic is usually born with some evidence of an eczema rash.
If the asthma is hereditary.
Carlton's asthma is primarily caused by an allergy to dogs, though.
Well, that does make a difference. And it didn't start until he was 5 years old.
That's right. And I think I know why.
So do I. Come on, let's have a talk with Mrs. Carlton.
Did he want a dog? Why, of course he wanted a dog when he was a child. He didn't know any better.
You ever let him have a dog?
Of course not. I wouldn't have one in the house.
Didn't you have a dog when you were a child, Mrs. Carlton?
I did not. My family wouldn't have permitted it.
Or didn't you ever want a dog? When you were a child, I mean?
Well, I may have wanted one, but I never got one.
How old was your son when he started to want one?
Oh, how should I remember that? 4, 5?
Wasn't his desire for a dog strongest just before he started to get asthmatic attacks?
I don't know.
And didn't you fill him with a lot of poppycock about dogs being dangerous and unclean?
Well, they are.
Why are they? Because you had to turn your mind and heart against something you couldn't have?
That isn't why Edward is ill. He's ill because a vicious beast bit him.
Vicious?
And Mrs. Carlton, I want an honest answer to one more question. Now, what did you do between the time your son was admitted this morning and the time you came back to visit him this afternoon?
You marched straight over to the library and read everything you could find on hydrophobia, didn't you? And then you came back and told him what he was facing.
Well, I thought he should know how sick that dog had made him.
How sick you'd made him. When you told him he'd come to a paralysis stage, he displayed that symptom immediately.
I think we'd better go see Edward right away, Dr. Gillespie.
Yeah. And don't you move out of here till we get back, Mrs. Carlton. I got a few more things to say to you.
Hello, Doctor. I feel sort of...
You've been under sedatives for a few hours to quiet your nerves.
Have you started the treatments yet?
Treatment's all over.
How long have I been out?
Only a few hours.
But it takes from 15 to 21 days for Pasteur treatment. My mother told me.
Your mother told you too much. You haven't got hydrophobia.
I was bitten. You saw the bite. It's right here.
Well, for a fellow who was paralyzed a few hours ago, you can sit up pretty quickly and throw those covers back, can't you?
Carlton, you need treatment for neurosis, not hydrophobia. Get up out of that bed and get your clothes on.
But where am I going?
Home, so we can have that bed for somebody who's really sick.
You mean you're not going to do anything to help me?
Oh, we'll help you all right, sure. I want to see you for an hour a day, every day for the next month. It'll take you that long to realize what a sap you've been.
Take it easy, Spot. You'll be home soon.
Yeah, and I'll bet you're in for the best dinner any dog ever had.
Oh, he won't even think of dinner until he's tried to lick every freckle off of Bobby's face.
And that was a mess of freckles if I ever saw one. Oh, look, Jimmy. There's the boy now.
Yeah, sitting on the steps of his house with his head in his hand. Bet he hasn't eaten much today either.
Doesn't even look up.
He will. I'm just going to open the door and let Spot out.
Jimmy, there aren't many living things that glad to see each other.
I can't tell which one of them is wagging most, boy or dog.
Look, he finally saw us. He's coming over.
Well, everything all right now, Bobby?
Oh, gee, Doctor. Gee whiz. Can he stay?
Well, he can stay if you want him.
Oh, I want him all right. Honest, I do. Honest.
Do you believe him, Jimmy?
Oh, I think he might be telling the truth.
Well, I guess you can keep him, Bobby. But we're sending you something you're going to need.
It's a new bike, Bobby, to replace the one you sold.
A new bike?
Yeah.
Gee.
Well, goodbye, Bobby.
Goodbye. Come on, Spot. I got a big bone for you.
He didn't seem too happy about the new bike.
Oh, he will be later, Jimmy. Not now. All he cares about now is that his dog's home again.
In just a moment, we will return to the story of Dr. Kildare. Once again, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Jimmy, when I think how close we came to ruining that boy's life, it gives me goose pimples.
It was close, and wouldn't be easy for a young fella to get over.
Well, Mrs. Carlton and Edward won't give him any more trouble.
I noticed Mrs. Carlton when they left here.
Come in.
Hi.
Oh.
Dr. Gillespie, I have the ticket you sent me for.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Just put them down there on the desk, Diana.
2 for the dog show and 2 for the new play at the Mohawk tomorrow night.
Well, my dear doctor, does this mark the opening of your private social season?
Well, I thought I'd relax a little, Jimmy.
Good.
But I just remembered I can't go to the Mohawk Theater tomorrow night.
Oh, well, that's too bad, Dr. Gillespie. Shall I take the tickets back and get a refund?
Oh, no. I hate people who buy things and keep on returning them. Here, Jimmy, you take them. You're free tomorrow night.
Oh, but I...
Oh, I'm sure one of the nurses will be happy to go with you. Perhaps Nurse Berner.
I'd better get back to my patient.
Oh, sure, yes. Run along.
Dr. G.
Well, confound it, Jimmy. You don't want the tickets to go to waste, do you?
Dr. G, there are times when you're as subtle as an outbreak of bubonic plague.
Well, she's a nice girl.
All right. You win. And thanks. Well, what about those other tickets for the dog show?
They're for Edward Carlton and his mother. Who knows? They may buy a dog. It'd help make them better human beings.
Certainly would. But I know something they won't find in that show. They'll never find a smart dog that's 1/4 collie.
No, Jimmy, I'm afraid they won't.
You have just heard the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. This program was written by Joel Murcott and directed by Joe Bigelow. Original music was composed and conducted by Walter Schumann. Supporting cast included Georgia Ellis, Ed Max, Isabel Randolph, Jeffrey Silver, Perv Pullen, and Vic Perrin. Dick Joy speaking.
ration coupon 17. Are you planning to use your shoe ration coupon to buy white shoes? If so, give them the best of care. Keep them clean with Energine Shoe White. No shoe white can make your shoes look whiter than Energine Shoe White. It's made with the very whitest pigment known, and it spreads so easily, dries so evenly, it gives your shoes the neat, well-kept look they must have to give you the most satisfactory wear. For the best of care for the white shoes you wear, remember Energine Shoe White. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Our next broadcast is a radio mystery drama which ran from May 16th, 1942 until September 27th, 1955 on CBS Radio Network. The show was also broadcast in Chicago and over Armed Forces Radio. On the West Coast, it was sponsored by the Signal Oil Company. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program. The program was also adapted into a film noir series by Columbia Pictures in 1944. Each episode began with the sound of footsteps and a person whistling. The haunting signature theme tune was composed by Wilbert Hatch and featured Dorothy Roberts whistling with an orchestra. We present to you The Whistler on HOJO Radio.
Listen at the end of the following program for an important announcement regarding change of time. Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
No, I can't go on. I gotta get away from it all. For a year now, it's been nothing but murder and death. How much do you think a man can stand?
Saturday night, and again, CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the odd story of the blank wall. A thin, bespectacled little man paces nervously up and down the floor of his office, up and down, back and forth. He runs his hands nervously through his hair. Time after time, he cleans his glasses, lights cigarette upon cigarette. The tension increases with every passing moment. This man is fighting against time. Time. With him, every second counts. Every minute becomes an eternity. Yes, this man is up against a blank wall. Suddenly he stops, and in sheer desperation, he almost screams at the man facing him.
I can't go on any longer. I won't. There's a limit to everything. I've come to the end of my rope.
You made a deal with me, Wilson. So far, you've done very well. But you can't back down now. It's too late.
I've done everything you assigned to me. But don't you understand? It's tearing me to pieces. It's wrecking my nerves. I can't eat. I can't sleep.
It's too late to quit, Wilson. You've gone this far, and I warn you. You can't pull out now.
Murder, death. How long do you think I can go on doing such things? How long?
You'll go on and on until we're through with you.
I won't.
Yes, you will. Furthermore, you'll like it, or... well, you know what'll happen.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean, Wilson. If you think you can walk out on me after all you've done, considering what you know about everything here, well, you've got another thing coming.
I'm afraid.
Afraid of what?
I'm afraid I'll lose my mind.
You won't.
For the last 6 nights now, I haven't been able to close my eyes. All I can see is poor Gregory Hellman.
Hellman?
Yes, awake or asleep, all I can see is his body buried in the cellar. And 2 weeks ago, it was John Henderson, dying in agony. I wake up in the middle of the night screaming.
Oh, nonsense.
On the surface, I'm a quiet, gentle person. No one around me knows the awful things that go through my mind. That's what I'm afraid of.
What?
Oh, that I'll suddenly go haywire. Look, Griskin, you've got to let up on me, for a while at least, or I'll crack up.
All right, Wilson. All right. We'll give you a rest.
You will, Griskin?
Yes. After this one.
What? Which one?
Olivia Martin.
Olivia Martin?
Yes, Olivia Martin.
Oh, what's wrong? I thought I'd worked that all out.
Oh, the plan's fair, but there are a couple of loopholes, Wilson. And one thing we don't want is a loophole. Right? You've never slipped so far. We can't afford to now.
No. Well, all right. I'll check on it. I'll straighten it out.
And make it airtight, Wilson.
And then can I get away from everything for a while?
If you plan it so that Olivia Martin takes the rap for everything, then I see no reason why you can't have a rest from all this.
All right, Griskin, I'll do my best, but...
But what?
Isn't there anyone else who could work it out?
No. Only you, Wilson. And you'd better start now. Understand?
Yeah, I understand.
I'll be back around 5:30, and I'll expect a foolproof plan. I mean one with no holes in it. So long, Wilson.
Yes. Well, Wilson, you're on the spot, aren't you? You heard what the boss said. No loopholes, no slip-ups. And Olivia Martin must take the rap. But just how are you going to plan this murder, Wilson?
Olivia Martin, husband Fred Martin, wealthy advertising executive. How can I work it out?
Oh, you can do it, Wilson. You can do it. You've planned things like this before. And the one who really did it was never caught.
But Olivia Martin is innocent.
You're very clever. You can concoct something and make everyone believe it, whether it's true or not.
Yes, but what? I'm up against a blank wall.
Come, Wilson. A professional killer. A murderer. One who knows all the tricks up against a blank wall.
Yes. There must be some way.
Yes. Why don't you plan this one in reverse? Look at it from the standpoint of the detectives. Start with the moment Olivia is accused and trapped. Think in reverse, Wilson, and work backwards.
Yes. I'll start with Olivia when she's caught.
That's right. Now, supposing it's this way. Suppose Olivia Martin had returned to her home in New York. The plane she was flying crashed, and her husband's secretary, Doris Hammond, was killed. Now Fred Martin, Olivia's husband, who has been living at his club, goes home to question Olivia.
Hello, Olivia.
Fred. Oh, Fred, it was terrible.
I can imagine. I'm sorry, Olivia.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my motor went dead. I couldn't find a clearing anyplace. I thought I saw a place, but it was more trees, and with no motor, I couldn't pull up in time.
Where were you going, Olivia?
Why, well, after you left for the club, I got to thinking things over, and I just couldn't remain another night in this house alone. So I decided to go to my sister's in Detroit.
I see. Poor Doris, I was never so shocked in my life.
Fred, I'm so sorry. So terribly sorry.
No, get hold of yourself. You couldn't help it.
I know how you must feel, Fred.
I'll certainly miss her.
Can you ever forgive me?
Of course, Olivia.
I never want to fly a plane again, never.
Tell me, how did Doris happen to be with you? Where was she going?
Why, well, she said she wanted to visit a friend in Buffalo, asked me if I'd drop her off there.
How did she know you were flying that way?
Well, I went to your office and told her I was going to Detroit and asked her to draw some money for me. I told her I'd be glad to put down in Buffalo.
I can't imagine why she'd leave the office in the middle of the week to visit friends out of town.
Maybe she had some business to attend to on the side.
Olivia, are you telling me the truth?
What do you mean?
Have you told me the real reason why you wanted to leave town?
Certainly.
Are you sure you weren't carrying out a plan?
Plan?
Didn't you have a definite idea in mind when you wrote that note to me at the club?
Note?
Yes. You seem to have forgotten the note. Why don't you tell the truth, Olivia? Aren't you running away from something?
Running from what?
Why don't you tell the truth?
Yes. Yes, I did make up my mind to do something terrible. I was going to kill her. And myself. But after I mailed the note to you, I seemed to come to my senses. I couldn't go through with it.
So you decided to forget the idea and go on to Detroit?
Yes, I swear I changed my mind about killing her. I just couldn't be a murderer.
You expect me to believe that?
I know what you think, the note and everything, but I didn't do it.
The note is certainly evidence against you.
Where is the note? You must destroy it, Fred. Don't tell anyone about it.
What time did you talk to Doris at the office?
About noon, I think.
And you mailed the note the night before?
Yes.
Left town at 5?
Yes.
What did you do in the meantime?
I can't remember. I'm so confused. I went shopping for a while.
Are you sure?
I changed my plan to kill her by the time morning came.
You're going to have a hard time proving that.
It's the truth.
The police think you did kill her.
Police? What do they know about it?
They were waiting for me when I got back from Boston. They'd already found the note at my club. That's where you made your big mistake, Olivia.
But
The detectives are here now.
They want to talk to you. Come in, Captain Evans.
Thank you.
Olivia, this is Captain Evans.
Good morning.
He'd like to ask you a few questions.
Yes. Is it true that your husband left you a few days ago, the idea that you were to get a divorce?
Yes,
You believed that your husband was in love with another woman?
I did.
Did you know who that woman was?
I did.
After he left you, did you write this note to him?
Yes, I wrote it, but I didn't
The
mean
next day you got some money at your husband's office. And at exactly 5 o'clock you took off in your plane.
Yes, but I changed my mind. I couldn't go through with it.
Where were you between noon and 5 o'clock?
I went about town. I really don't remember what I
Can
did.
you prove where you were during that period?
I don't see how I could. What difference does it make where I was between noon and 5 o'clock?
It makes a lot of difference. Because it was about that hour that Rita Bartow was stabbed to death in her apartment.
Rita Bartow? The head of the art department?
Yes. The weapon has not been found. There were no clues, excepting your note to your husband.
Rita Bartow? I don't understand.
Rita Bartow was the other woman, the woman your husband was in love with. I'm sorry, but you got yourself in a tough spot. Come along, Mrs. Martin.
Well, there you are, Wilson. Conclusive evidence against Olivia Martin as the murderer of Rita Bartow. Olivia will never be able to prove where she was between noon and 5 o'clock when she took off.
Rita Bartow was dead, stabbed, no weapon found. But why should Olivia kill Rita Bartow? Because Olivia knew her husband was in love with another woman. That's what she said in the note.
That's right.
But what about that note? How can I manage that?
Oh, you can do that easily, Wilson. Someone as clever as you are can arrange a detail like that. Now, let's move back to the day of the plane crash. The day when Doris Hammond, Fred's secretary, was killed in the plane flown by Olivia. Olivia, we are presuming, has told Fred that Doris was going to visit friends in Buffalo. Now, let's see what happened between New York and Buffalo.
How far have we come now, Mrs. Martin?
Oh, I don't know, about 75 miles.
That was quite a storm back there. Hope we don't run into any more. I don't like a plane during a storm.
I don't know anyone who does. Doris, aren't you just a bit upset over this trip?
What do you mean?
Just that.
Do I seem upset?
Yes. Is something preying on your mind?
Yes, there is something bothering me.
A guilty conscience?
What?
Isn't that what it is?
What are you talking about?
Are you looking forward to a nice visit in Buffalo?
Well, I don't consider it a visit. It's part of my job.
A very pleasant job, too. I'm sure you'll miss the job and its attending interests. Working late at night, several nights a week.
What do you mean by that? Why should I lose my job?
Your job isn't all you're going to lose.
What?
Fred isn't in Buffalo.
Where is he?
I don't know, but wherever he is, you'll never see him again.
Put this plane down. Let me out. You're mad.
I'm going to put it down. Straight down on its nose.
What?
Fred won't think you're so attractive the next time he sees you.
You can't do this. You can't.
Put that key back in the switch. I won't. Give me that key.
Pull up. Those trees. Pull up.
Well, they hit the treetops, and when a farmer who sees the crash reaches them, he finds Olivia thrown clear of the wreck and still alive. Doris, of course, is dead. Not bad so far, is it, Wilson? But now what?
Now, this should happen after 5 o'clock when Doris and Olivia took off in the plane. Now, what should happen between noon and 5 o'clock? Yes, that's the period Olivia can't account for.
All right. Let's go back to, say, 2 o'clock, 2 in the afternoon. One of your own choice characters, Wilson, who has been working in Fred Martin's advertising agency as an artist, has just returned from an errand on which he's been sent by Doris Hammond. Remember that. Doris Hammond. And the character is Jack Mallory.
Jack Mallory, where on earth have you been? You know what time it is, 2 o'clock.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to talking and I didn't realize the hour.
What about the art layout? Did Rita select one?
Oh, yes, this one. She made a couple of changes in it.
What change?
Oh, nothing important. Just wanted this section here set up in red. It stands out better.
Yes, so it does.
Well, I better put this through right away. Sorry to have been so late with it.
I'm glad you got back with it before I left.
Left?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going, Gus?
Mr. Martin phoned. He wants me to join him in Buffalo. Something important has come up.
Buffalo? I thought he was in Boston.
Yes, but he had to run over to Buffalo in a hurry.
Oh, Buffalo?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's strange.
What's strange?
Hmm? Oh, well, I mean his being in Buffalo.
Oh, what's strange about it?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose he could be in Buffalo.
What's the matter with you, Jack?
Well, nothing. Nothing at all.
Lean over here.
What? Why?
A little closer.
Well, what's the matter?
Well, of all things. Oh, I've seen everything. You've actually had a drink. You, of all people.
Well, I don't approve of it as a rule, but I walked back from Rita's place. I got my feet a little wet in the rain. Felt kind of chilly. Afraid I was catching cold, so I stopped in the bar on the way back and had a drink.
Well, I hope you don't get sick. Can't afford to have you and Rita both out.
No, that's right. There's lots of work to be done this
Here,
week.
take off that top coat. It's damp. Let me have it. I'll hang it over the radiator. Well,
What's wrong?
how on earth did you do this? You spilled ink on the front of your coat.
Yeah? Well, what do you know? That's a fine thing. I just got it yesterday. Oh, I must have done that over at Rita's when I blocked that section in red.
You ought to get it out as soon as possible. Here, hand me that towel from the closet and dampen it.
No, don't bother, Doris. I'll have it clean tomorrow.
Get some of it out now. Thanks. Oh, certainly hard to get off.
It's probably dried in by now.
Strangest ink I ever saw. It doesn't seem to be ink. More like blood, if you ask me.
Blood? Let's see it. That is strange. Let me see that art layout. It does seem a little darker than this on the card. Oh, maybe the cloth has something to do with it.
Perhaps.
Better let the cleaners worry about it, huh? What time are you leaving, Doris?
In a few minutes. I'm flying from the airport around 5.
Well, good luck, Doris. I'll see you in a few days.
Thanks, Jack. Take care of yourself. And lay off the liquor. That's bad stuff to get started on.
Are you kidding?
What do you think?
For a few moments, Doris stands staring after Jack as he passes through the door to the outer office. She picks up the towel, studies it for a second, then tosses it into a desk drawer and leaves the office. Now, Wilson, what happened preceding the incident we just worked out?
Well, suppose it's arranged that Olivia Martin visits her husband's office and calls on Doris, her husband's secretary.
Good afternoon, Miss Hammond.
Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Martin?
I'm afraid I won't have time. I'm in rather a hurry. I've a number of things to do this afternoon.
Help you?
I suppose you're quite busy yourself.
Yes, my work always doubled when Fred leaves town.
Fred?
Yes, Mr. Martin.
Oh, my husband.
I suppose it does seem strange for an employee to call him Fred. But for some reason I've gotten into the habit and can't seem to break it. He doesn't seem to mind, however.
Is that so? After all, you're like one of the family, aren't you, Miss Hammond?
Yes, I've been here for several years.
You've been Fred's private secretary for how long now?
Almost a year.
Pleasant work, is it?
Oh, you've no idea how absorbing this business can be, Mrs. Martin.
I realize that it must have a certain amount of extremely interesting moments.
You should drop around here more often, Mrs. Martin.
How right you are. Things might have been different.
Different?
Yes, I mean if I'd taken an active interest in the business. Well, at times it gets rather dull waiting at home, especially on long evenings when one's husband has to stay in town on business. But I mustn't take up your time with personal problems. I want you to have a check drawn to me for $500.
Very well, I'll attend to it at once.
You heard from Fred since he left?
No, I haven't.
He phoned me this morning.
He did?
He left an important paper at home, and he knew I was flying to Detroit tonight to visit my relatives.
Yes.
So he wants me to drop it off for him at Buffalo.
Buffalo? I thought he was in Boston.
He was, but he had to rush over to Buffalo. Some unexpected business came up. He says he needs you very badly.
He wants me to come to Buffalo?
Yes. I told him I'd notify you and bring you with me. I'll be leaving the airport about 5.
Well, I'll meet you at the airport. Is there anything in particular he wants me to bring?
No. Nothing but the paper he left at home.
Very well. I'll be at the airport.
Do you mind flying, Miss Hammond?
No, not at all.
That's good. I'll see you at 5.
Well, Wilson, so far, so good. Doris, the secretary, has been killed in a plane piloted by Olivia.
Prior to that, Jack Mallory returned from a visit to Rita Bartow's apartment with a stain on his coat. And shortly before that, Olivia talked to Doris in the office. Now, what happens while Olivia is wandering about town till 5 o'clock, the time she took off from the airport?
Well, it was after 2 o'clock when my man Jack Mallory, who was working in the art department, returned from Rita Bartow's apartment with the art layout. Doris had sent him there about noon.
All right. Now, let's see what happened while he was at Rita's.
Oh, hello, Jack. Doris phoned me. Said you were bringing that layout over.
Oh, yes, Rita. The client wants you to pick out the one you want to use for the display.
I know.
How do you feel?
Oh, all right. I just didn't feel like coming to the office today.
Oh? Well, Doris said you were ill. Had a bad cold, huh?
Oh, no, not too bad. I'll be all right tomorrow.
Oh, I see. Well, here are the layouts for next week. Which one do you want?
Well, I'd planned on this one, but I think you should make this section in red.
Mm-hmm, I see. Well, that's easy. I'll fix it up in a jiffy.
Well, it'll stand out better that way. We'll run this other one for the week following.
Okay. Hey, you look mighty lovely, Rita.
Thanks.
Where are you going all dressed up? Shouldn't you be in bed?
Why, I've got to go out of town this afternoon on that Henderson deal. I wanted to put it off till next week, but, well, Mr. Martin insisted that I get it settled as soon as possible.
You shouldn't be running around too much, darling.
Well, I don't really have a cold. It's that sinus trouble again.
Why don't you try a change of climate, Rita?
Change of climate?
Uh-huh. Yes, you could take that job in California.
Quit Fred Martin after all he's done for me?
Fred Martin isn't the only advertising man in the world.
No?
I should think you'd like California, Rita. I've always wanted to go there. I've had an idea I could do very well. Some nice jobs in the movie art departments.
Well, I'm not interested in movies.
I've thought about going out there and settling down. Buying a nice little home and really enjoying life.
Why should a bachelor do all that? You have ideas about getting married, Jack?
Yeah. Yes, I have, Rita.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it.
What time's your plane leave, Rita?
At 2.
How about a little lunch while you're waiting, huh?
Very well.
Well, leave your bag here. We'll pick it up later.
All right.
I've got something important to talk to you about, Rita.
Important?
Yeah. Well, I got a nice raise this week.
Well, that's fine, Jack.
I want to ask you a question about you and me.
Yes. Well, go ahead.
No, not now. Come on. We'll talk about it during lunch, huh?
Now, we know, of course, what Jack had to say to Rita. That's obvious. Marriage. But if Rita was ill, why was she leaving for an out-of-town appointment? Well, the next step is the most important. Remember, Wilson, Olivia and her husband Fred had come to the parting of the ways, and Olivia wrote a note.
Yes, that was the part that made the whole thing logical. The part that afforded a perfect setup for me. Olivia was pacing the bedroom floor long past midnight when Fred came home and knocked on her door.
Olivia? You awake?
Yes. Come in.
I thought you might be asleep.
Asleep? How could I sleep?
Well, it's 1 o'clock, isn't it?
Yes, Fred.
I really didn't realize it was so late.
You don't usually bother to see if I'm awake.
Don't I?
For the past 2 months, you've gone right on to your own room.
Yes, I guess I have.
Get your business settled?
Yes, I had quite a bit to attend to.
Have dinner at the club?
Oh, yes, the club.
Then why didn't you answer my call? I had you paged. They said you hadn't been there this evening.
Oh? Perhaps I hadn't arrived yet.
Really?
Well, I think I'll turn in. Good night, Olivia.
Why don't you say it?
Say what?
What you came here to say.
What makes you think I had anything particular to say?
I've known all evening you were planning to tell me something when you got in.
Why, that's nonsense.
I've known for months this was coming. I know what sort of business detained you. A woman.
What?
At first I believed your stories about working late. But as the weeks passed and I realized you were growing colder, the whole thing became clear to me. Then I knew you were evading me, that you were lying.
Go on.
We've been married 10 years, Fred. I've done everything humanly possible to make our marriage a success.
Have you?
I think I have.
That's your opinion, Olivia.
Oh, Fred, I'm just sick all over. I've tried not to believe it.
Oh, let's not have a scene, Olivia, please.
What do you expect me to do? laugh it off?
No, not you, Olivia. Certainly not you.
I suppose you'll say it's all my fault. I'm to blame for everything.
I haven't said anything.
Then why don't you? Why beat about the bush? You came here to say something. Say it.
Very well, since you put it that way, I will. I'm going out of town tomorrow on business. I'm sending my things to the club. When I return, I intend to live there.
Fred.
Now, wait a minute, Olivia. I haven't finished. I want you to get a divorce on any grounds you please. Desertion or whatever you wish.
Divorce? Do you mean that?
I do.
Very well. If that's the way you want it, there's nothing else I can do.
No, Olivia. Nothing. Good night.
Well, there you are, Wilson. That was what led up to Olivia's writing the note to Fred at his club. The note that made this whole thing possible. She mailed it the following night. That note was the complete evidence against her, Wilson. What does it say?
Fred, the very thought of losing you, the thought of divorce, the thought of giving you up for another woman is more than I can bear. The shame, the disgrace, the scandal of it all would, I know, drive me insane. Regardless of what you may think, I refuse to accept the responsibility of the failure of our marriage. I know who caused it, and I know who she is. You'd never be happy with a woman of her type. You'd be throwing your life away. I refuse to give you up to her, and so I have made a decision. Goodbye, Fred. Olivia.
Now, Wilson, because of that note, Olivia will be accused of the death of Rita Bartow because Rita was really the woman her husband was in love with. She thought it was Doris, Fred's secretary. She lied to Doris when she said Fred had asked her to bring Doris to Buffalo. Fred wasn't in Buffalo. Olivia planned to crash the plane and kill herself as well as Doris. But Olivia survived only to be accused of the death of Rita. Actually, you fix it so that your choice character, Jack Mallory, killed Rita when he learned that Rita was really going to Boston to be with Fred Martin. And the ironical part of it will be that Olivia killed the one person who knew about the odd stains on Jack's coat. Blood stains. Yes, Doris will be the only one able to clear Olivia and place the guilt on Jack Mallory. But Doris will be dead. It works out perfectly, Wilson. You're not up against this blank wall now. The murder is perfect, and no one will ever know who really did it. That is, no one but you and I.
It's wonderful. Airtight. Not a single loophole. I've got it, Griskin. Not a slip-up on the whole thing.
I knew you could
No
do
one
it.
will ever figure this one out. I tried a new slant. I started at the end and worked backwards.
Backwards?
Yes.
Well, just so it works out okay, what does it matter?
Now, look, Griskin, you said if I figured this one out that I could get away from all this for a while.
I know.
Well, then how about it?
Okay, Wilson. I'll give you a month on one condition.
Well, what's that?
That you really get out of town.
What do you mean, Griskin?
I know that other outfit's been after you. I know they've offered you a better deal, but if you try to walk out on us now, well, I don't think I need to say any more.
Well, then, how about a raise when I come back?
A raise? Okay, Wilson, that's a deal. You'll get a raise. But if you know what's good for you, you'll be back here in exactly 1 month.
Yeah, sure, I understand. I'll be back. Why, I'm not going to leave you. You know I wouldn't think of such a thing. Maybe while I'm gone, I'll figure out some new tricks.
Yeah? Well, enjoy yourself, Wilson, because you're going to be a busy man when you get back. We've got this is going to be a busy season for murders. So long.
Yeah. So long, Chief.
Well, the boss was perfectly satisfied with the way Wilson worked out the details of the job. And Wilson was more than pleased, too. Of course, all I did was to suggest a plan he used once before. Only I suggested it to him in reverse. And the strange thing was, he didn't even recognize his own plan. Yes, Wilson had used this one before. He used it last year, about 6 months ago. November, to be exact. But neither he nor the boss were aware of it. In other words, a plot is just as good worked backwards as it is forwards. Oh, by the way, I should mention now that Wilson was not an employee of Murder Incorporated.
And Griskin is not a gangster chieftain. No. Wilson was really a top writer for a detective story weekly, and Griskin was the editor of the magazine. Poor Wilson was just up against a blank wall, so I thought I'd help him out.
Beginning next week, The Whistler will come to you at a new time, Friday night at 9. Remember, next week, Friday at 9 p.m. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood.
Constipation can be a problem for anyone, even doctors. And when constipation occurs, it's interesting to see just what doctors consider important about a laxative they might use or recommend. Well, a majority of the doctors we heard from had this to say.
A laxative should be effective, gentle, close to natural acting. A medicine that can be used with complete confidence.
Now, X-Lax has been popular with many doctors and millions of people over the years because chocolated X-Lax is effective. Overnight, it helps you toward your normal regularity. X-Lax is so gentle, so close to natural acting, there's no upset. That's why many doctors and millions of people use X-Lax with complete confidence. X-Lax, the laxative that helps you toward your normal regularity, gently. Overnight.
Stay tuned to HOJO Radio.
Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
No, it wasn't a dream. It was too real. This is what I've been afraid of. I know you don't believe me. You think I'm insane, both of you. Friday night, and CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the weird story of the Avengers. In the great Southwest, a range of high mountains extends as far as the eye can see. This is mining country, silver and gold. Halfway down the mountain is a tiny village, the mining town of Rainbow, a raucous sort of place composed of a number of stores, many saloons, and the Federal Land Office, where the fortune hunters file their claims. 15 years ago, Rainbow was a rip-roaring village, and in a back room of the Crystal Palace bar, a young man and a young woman hold an earnest conversation.
Tell me, Miss Martin, how long have you been in this town?
Oh, about 2 years. Came here from Kansas City.
And you know my brother, John Maddox?
I certainly do.
How well do you know him?
Well enough. He came out here a year ago, and he's been hiding out up on the mountainside ever since. Got a cabin up there.
Prospecting, of course.
Who isn't?
How well do you know him?
Oh, he used to come into town quite often. I got acquainted with him in here. First, I fell for him in a big way, but he seemed to resent it. Finally gave me the cold shoulder.
Well, he has a wife and a 5-year-old daughter back east.
That's what he said, but I didn't believe him. He's a bit nutty, isn't he?
Nutty? No, I wouldn't say nutty. He's a smart boy. He's an engineer. Graduate of the State School of Mines.
He is? Well, what's he doing here, living like a hermit?
I wonder. So he gave you the cold shoulder, huh?
He certainly did.
Well, John is an educated mineralogist. He came out here to make a strike. And if anyone does, he should be that one. Maybe he's located a vein of ore.
What do you have on your mind, Mr. Maddox?
Well, I thought maybe you'd seen him visiting the Assayer's office a little more often than usual.
And what if I have?
Or the land office?
Go on, Mr. Maddox.
Well, I wouldn't be interested in knowing the activities of an ordinary prospector. But a graduate mining engineer like John, well, he may have a lead on something good.
Yes?
And I thought, that is, I heard you might be more or less familiar with his activities.
That's right. I am.
And maybe you'd like to come in with me.
What do you mean?
You know where he's been working? You know the area he's most interested in, so if you let me know, I'll beat him to it. We'll split.
Split?
That's right. How about it?
Sure. Why not? You know, I think I'm going to like you, Mr. Maddox.
Frank is the name, Melva.
All right, Frank. This is it. He has found a spot. It didn't mean much to me until now, but he's been working on the same location for a week or more. I'm sure he's hit something.
Good. That's all I wanted to know. I'll just drop in and surprise him. See you later, Melva.
See you later, partner.
And so that night, John Maddox is working on some maps and papers. The meager lamp throws a dim light about the room. For an hour, he sits at the table. Then suddenly the silence is shattered by a sound from the kitchen.
Who's there? Come out of there. Come on. What are you doing here? What do you want?
Nothing.
How long have you been in that kitchen?
Why?
So you're the little thief that's been stealing my things, huh? What are you after this time?
Nothing.
I know who you are. You're Tony Watson.
So what?
Just this. You're the one who pinched my camera, my binoculars. Yes, and several other things.
I didn't know.
And I'm turning you over to the sheriff right now.
Sheriff! No, I didn't take him. I didn't steal anything, but
But what?
I know who did.
Why, you little liar. You're the one. And believe me, you're caught on the job this time, and I'll... just a minute. Sheriff.
I didn't.
Hey, come back here. Why, that little devil. Just a second. Well?
Hello, John.
Frank.
That's right, your brother Frank himself.
Come in. What do you want? What are you doing here?
Oh, just dropped in town. Thought I'd see how you were doing.
Getting along all right.
But you might like to hear about your wife and your daughter.
Is that why you came here?
Your wife is very well. Your daughter's just 5 years old today. I'm still wondering how you're getting along and when you're going to send for them.
I know all about that. I'm going to send for them very soon.
Are you? All going to live in this little shack?
Certainly not. There's something a lot better by the time they arrive.
Will you? Oh. Didn't have a dime when you left.
Yeah, thanks to you and your lies. I know who's responsible for Father's cutting me off with only $1. You.
Have you struck pay dirt here, John?
No.
What are all these interesting papers and maps on the table?
Nothing.
Oh, but they must mean something.
Get away from that table. Let them alone.
Put up your hands and stand
if
back.
You touch those papers.
Get back there. Uh-huh. Interesting. So you have struck something. All ready to be recorded.
Frank, if you dare, I'll kill you.
Why do you think I came here?
you
Don't
dirty...
worry, I'll settle up later. I'll see you get a share.
My wife and my daughter, Doreen, they haven't a cent. I've not been able to give them anything in months. You can't do this.
Do what?
You put those papers down, Frank, or I'll break your dirty neck.
You'd better stay where you are.
Oh, no, I'll kill you. First, I'll kill you.
John, you're crazy. Keep back. Keep away.
You crazy fool. I told you I'd shoot. You're the fool, Frank. You're the fool. You won't get away with this. I'll see to that. You'll pay, Frank. I'm not through with you yet. You and everyone, everything you hold dear will be taken away. You will pay it back, Frank. To me and mine. If I have to climb out of my grave.
John. John!
Frank stands for a moment, then stuffs the papers and maps into his pocket and rushes to the door and into the night. A few seconds later, a face at the window disappears and suddenly reappears through the back door. And a boy stands looking at the inert figure on the cabin floor.
Huh. Serves him right. You won't tell the sheriff anything about me now.
15 years have passed, and now the little mining village of Rainbow is a thriving city of mines and smelters. And the richest mine of all is the one owned by Frank Maddox. And Frank Maddox rules the city. Frank is married now and has a child, a girl of 5. The child has been ill for days. And tonight, as Frank Maddox steps through the door, his wife meets him with a strange, vacant stare.
Melba, what's happened? How is she?
She's... Oh, Frank.
All those doctors, and they couldn't save her.
No. They said she didn't have a chance. They did their best.
Fools, what good are they? What are they paid for? They don't even know what was wrong with her.
No, Frank. But, well, whatever it was horrible. She died in agony.
Specialists. I told them they could name their own price. The sky was the limit.
It didn't seem to make any difference.
The poor little thing. The poor baby.
It didn't seem to be anything serious at first. It was just a week ago. She was sitting at her desk, drawing pictures, and then all of a sudden she started to gasp for breath and fell to the floor in a faint.
Yes, I know.
And then she lapsed into a coma. Oh, Frank. Frank, what was it? What?
Darling,
couldn't they...
what is it?
I can't get my breath.
Here, drink this.
Frank, I didn't want to tell you, but I'm frightened. I've had it for several hours. It's just like the baby. The same thing.
The baby and now you. I know what it is. It's him. It's John.
John? Your brother?
Yes, I knew this was going to happen. John told me.
But John's dead.
The night the baby took sick, I saw him in a dream. He told me something was going to happen to us, and last night I saw him again. He was grinning and laughing. He told me that...
Told you what?
He told me that he'd finally reached through to me, that he'd finally made contact.
That's crazy.
He said tomorrow would be a sad day for me. Today.
But it's a dream.
I know, but he said something else. He said that now his wife was dead, that the sooner I made things right with his daughter Doreen, the better.
Frank, that's nonsense.
No, there must be something to it. I'll find the girl. I'll get her down here. I'll try to fix things up. Maybe that'll stop all this.
Frank, please use your head. It was a dream.
I've got to find that girl. I'll send Anthony to find her. I'll explain the whole thing to him. He can find her.
Why tell him about it?
Well, he's my assistant. I confide in him. He'll find her.
Very well, then. Tell Anthony. Tell him to find her and bring her here. Because if you... Frank.
Melba, darling.
Please find that girl. Doreen.
Frank Maddox carries his stricken wife to her room and calls the doctor. The next day, he explains in a way to his young assistant, Anthony Watson. Anthony rushes to the east to locate Doreen Maddox, and needless to say, he does. Before she knows what it's all about, she's aboard the train with young Anthony.
Didn't you even know you had an Uncle Frank?
Oh, yes, of course. But I didn't know much about him.
When did your mother die, Doreen?
5 years ago. She committed suicide.
What became of your father?
Oh, he went west to prospect for gold or silver or something. But he got into trouble. Someone shot him, and that's all I know about it.
Has your Uncle Frank ever offered to help you?
No, not that I know of. Mother never mentioned it if he did.
He's a very rich man, you know, and, as I've told you, very ill.
Ill?
Well, he's sort of mentally ill, as well as physically.
Oh?
Doreen, are you... That is... Well, a girl as lovely as you should be engaged, or in love.
But I'm not.
You're not? Really?
No.
Well, that's wonderful. I can't believe it.
Well, it's the truth, whether you believe it or not.
Oh, I believe you. And, well, I'm glad to hear it.
And so you see, Doreen, I'd completely lost track of you. I wondered about you and your mother since the tragic death of your father.
Mother died several years ago, Uncle.
Yes, I should have attempted to locate you long ago.
Should you?
Yes, you're my brother's child. It was my duty to look after you. See that you want for nothing.
But I've been getting along all right.
I've not been well, Doreen. I've been quite ill lately. I've been terribly upset, my nerves.
Perhaps you've been working too hard.
No, it isn't that. Doreen, I'd like you to stay here. Make this your home. And I have a check for you, a little present, $5,000.
No, please, Uncle. That isn't necessary.
You must accept it, Doreen. You must.
I don't need it. I'll be glad to stay here with you until you're better. But really, I don't know what I'd do with $5,000.
I'd feel better if you accepted it. And perhaps your father would...
Father would what?
Doreen, I must tell you. I've got to tell you. It's driving me mad. John is trying to kill me.
Oh, Uncle. Father's been dead for years.
I know, but he died hating me.
Hating you?
He blamed me for his having been cut off with only $1 in our father's will. But he was wrong, and... Well, now he's trying to kill me.
Oh, I can't believe such a thing.
I have horrible nightmares. John appears to me, always threatening me. He came to me the night my little daughter became ill, and then after she died. He came again when my wife was stricken, and said that after she was gone, it would be my turn.
But that's just your imagination, Uncle. Well, get it out of your mind.
I can't. I'm afraid to go to sleep.
You only see him in your dreams?
Yes, but each time he comes nearer, closer, more real. Oh, it isn't just imagination. I'm afraid that one of these days I'll see him when I'm not asleep.
And you think my being here will help matters? Is that it?
Yes. If he knows you're here, that I'm taking care of you and have your welfare at heart, perhaps he'll let me alone.
Prove to him that he judged you wrongly?
Yes. I must make him understand. I can't go on this way. I'm a physical wreck. I'm afraid my mind will snap.
I understand, Uncle. I'll try to help you. But you must try to get this off your mind.
Yes, I'll try.
You'd better go to bed now, Uncle.
Please, take the check.
Very well. Good night.
An hour passes, and in spite of himself, Frank drops into a fretful sleep. He moans and tosses about, and as usual, he dreams of John again. Sees him come through the wall and stand in the center of the room.
You won't get away with it, Frank. Everything and everyone you hold dear will be taken away. You'll pay it back, Frank, to me and mine.
No. Let me alone. Anthony! Doreen!
Uncle! Uncle, what is it?
What's happened? Doreen, he was here just now. I saw him. I heard him laughing.
But, Mr. Maddox, that isn't possible.
I heard him, I tell you. You could hear his laugh all over the house.
I heard nothing, Uncle. Not a sound.
I woke up, I tell you. I heard him.
But, Uncle, you must have been dreaming. Why, I haven't been asleep since I left you. I've been reading. I didn't hear a sound.
You didn't hear anything, really?
No, not a sound.
You, Anthony?
I heard nothing. You were just dreaming.
Oh, no, it was too real. This is what I've been afraid of. I know you don't believe me. You think I'm insane.
Uncle, please.
Yes, maybe I am.
Come, Anthony.
No, Doreen. Don't go, please.
But, Uncle, there's nothing I can do. It's up to you. You must convince yourself that it's all imagination. Good night, Uncle.
And then the next night comes, and Frank dreams again, the same frightful dream. John appears, repeats the same words, and laughs in the same way. Frank is wide awake now, shaking with fear, and all the while trying to convince himself that it's only his imagination. Then the bedroom door opens suddenly. Doreen steps into the room. Her face is white with fear. She trembles as she moves slowly toward the bed.
Uncle.
Doreen, what is it? What's wrong?
Uncle, just now, I heard something.
What? Doreen, what did you hear?
I must have been dreaming. I must have. But it was so clear.
Your father?
Yes, I heard him. And he was laughing.
Then if you heard him, it must be true. He has come back.
Oh, did you hear it, too?
Yes, he was here in this room. What did he say to you?
I can't remember. I was so frightened. But I heard him. And that laughter.
Now you believe me. Now you know I'm not imagining things.
Oh, I don't know. I'm so frightened I don't know what to think. I can't stay here any longer. I've got to leave. I can't stay another night.
Oh, Doreen, please, don't go. Not yet. Promise that you'll stay just a while longer. Please.
But, Uncle, all right, I'll try. I'll stay.
Then comes the next night, another dreadful night of horror. Frank tries his best to control his mounting fear as evening passes and midnight comes. He fights sleep, the sleep that brings him nothing but horrifying dreams and the voice of John. But finally he can hold out no longer, and his eyes close. A half hour goes by, then...
Frank, you're not asleep, Frank. You're wide awake, and this is real.
John, what do you want? Tell me. I'll do it. I'll do anything.
I told you you'd pay. Everything and everyone dear to you would be taken away. At this very moment, your wife is dying, Frank. For
please, I'll do anything.
Then sit down at that table and write. Write a will. Everything to the one it belongs to. My daughter, Doreen.
Yes, I'll do it.
And a confession, Frank.
Confession?
A confession that you came to my cabin that night and killed me.
Oh, no, I can't, John.
You can and you will.
They'll hang me.
They won't hang you.
No?
Write the will and the confession.
Yes, but I'm afraid that...
They won't hang you. Because in just 1 minute, you will be dead.
John,
Hurry,
no.
Frank. You haven't much time to save your soul. You're going to have a stroke, Frank. In just a minute, you'll feel a sudden beating of your temples. A stroke is what they'll call it. And you'll be dead. Hurry.
Yes, I'll write it. I will.
Your conscience will be clear, Frank, and that'll be best for you, I know. I said I'd reach you if I had to crawl out of my grave.
There it is. Now, please leave me alone, Frank. Please.
Too late, Frank. You're going back with me. Look at the clock. 15 seconds left. Now it's starting. Your head is beginning to whirl. Strange sounds beat in your ears. Faster. Do you hear?
Yes. Please don't, John.
5 seconds. There it is. You're dying, Frank. This is the end. The end of Frank Maddox.
No, John! No!
Uncle Frank! Anthony!
Doreen, what's happened? I heard him screaming.
Anthony, I think feel his pulse.
I can't find it. Not a trace.
Anthony, is he?
I don't know. He's had a stroke, I think.
I'll call the doctor.
Yes, I'll have to go after him. His car is out of order. Come on. It may be too late for the doctor, but we'd better get him anyway. Use this phone and tell him I'll be there in a few minutes.
In here, doctor.
What happened to him?
I think he had a stroke.
A stroke, eh? Well.
We heard him screaming, and when we got here, he was unconscious.
Well, he's dead. But he didn't have a stroke.
What?
You can see for yourself. He's been stabbed in the heart. You don't need me. You want the police.
You say, miss, that you heard your uncle screaming?
I did.
What did it seem to be? A scream of pain?
No, I couldn't make out what it was. But it sounded as though he was horribly frightened. It seemed as though he was pleading with someone.
Did you hear him, Anthony?
Yes, it sounded just as Doreen said, as though someone or something were after him.
What do you mean by something?
Well, I just used that as a form of expression.
And when you reached him, he was on the floor, unconscious?
That's right.
Was he dead?
We didn't know. I couldn't find any pulse, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. That's why I went for the doctor.
And you didn't notice the knife wound in his chest?
No.
Did you see it, miss?
No, it may have been there, but I didn't notice it.
Are you sure he didn't have a stroke, Doctor?
Positive. He may have had a collapse, fainted, but there was no stroke. He died from this stab in the heart.
What sort of instrument would you say was used?
Well, I'd say a long, thin knife about a half-inch wide.
Like a letter opener?
Yes, sort of a stiletto.
Doctor, had you been treating Mr. Maddox lately for any particular ailment?
Well, I've been attending him frequently of late.
What was troubling him?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Are you sure?
Well, I couldn't find any definite physical trouble, but he was becoming terribly run down. Seemed to get worse each day. He couldn't eat nor sleep. Extremely nervous. Hypertension. I gave him sedatives and tonics, but they seemed to do no good, so I finally came to the conclusion that it was mental.
Mental? What do you mean?
I think he had developed some sort of phobia, a fear. What, I was never able to determine. In time, it would have resulted in insanity and finally death. Or perhaps a stroke and death. But in this case, it was not a stroke.
You've been attending his wife?
Yes.
What is her ailment?
Carcinoma. But she doesn't know it. There's nothing more I can do for her, except alleviate the pain.
Miss Maddox, from the tone of your uncle's screams, would you say that there was some person in the room with him at the time?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. What does that mean?
I mean, he may have thought someone was here with him.
May have thought someone was with him.
Yes, that is...
Well, from all appearances, there was someone with him. The someone who stabbed him. Anthony, was Miss Maddox in this room when you came in?
No, we met in the hall and came in together.
Neither of you saw the knife wound.
I'm sure I didn't.
Doreen, you just said that he may have thought someone was here in this room. What do you mean?
Well, he was afraid of...
Afraid of what? Afraid of who?
Afraid of my father.
What? Why, your father's been dead 15 years.
Yes, but that's just it. I may as well tell you. He was afraid my father was trying to kill him. That's what was wrong with him, why he couldn't sleep.
Oh, gosh, now it's spooky.
No. He said that Father appeared to him every night and threatened him.
Threatened him? Well, all right, so we threatened him. Why?
He said Father hated him, that Father thought Uncle Frank had caused him to lose his inheritance.
Well, Doctor, do you think that's what was wrong with Frank?
Could have been. Quite possible.
All right, I'll grant you that. But no spook produced that knife wound. Doreen, do you believe that your father lost his inheritance because of your uncle?
No, I do not.
Are you sure?
I'm sure Father did not lose his part of the estate because of Uncle Frank.
Are you sure? Could you prove that?
Well, no, I couldn't. But I never heard Father mention it. I never heard him accuse Uncle Frank.
What brought you here?
My uncle sent for me.
Why?
Because he was afraid of my father. He thought my being here might help matters.
That's right, Captain. He sent me for Doreen. I located her and brought her here.
Oh, me. Oh, my. This gets worse and worse. You know all about it, too, did you?
Yes, Mr. Maddox confided in me. He had the idea that if Doreen were brought here and he showed good intentions toward her, that John would leave him alone.
Oh, poor John. What a busy guy.
It isn't funny.
You said it. Frank Maddox has been murdered, and it wasn't a spook. I know who did it, and I know why.
What are you talking about?
Frank Maddox didn't send for her. She came here of her own accord and for a definite reason.
She did not. I brought her here.
You're lying. You're trying to cover up for her.
I am not.
Because you're in love with her. Anybody can see that.
Well, what if I am in love with him? That doesn't have anything to do with this.
Frank Maddox sent me for her.
He did not. She knew that Frank was the cause of her father losing his inheritance. So she came here to kill him, and she did.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Why would she kill him? What would she gain by that?
Ever hear of revenge? If it hadn't been for Frank, her father would have been wealthy, and so would she.
But she didn't know about her father's accusations until Frank Maddox told her himself.
Oh, then you admit that she does know about it now.
I knew nothing about it until Uncle Frank told me. But I still think Father was wrong.
Whether you knew about it before you came here or learned it after you got here, what's the difference? It's a motive. You stabbed him. You left the room, and then you met Anthony in the hall. You stuck Miss Maddox, and you haven't a chance.
Wait a minute.
Mrs. Maddox, don't come in here.
And why not? Why shouldn't I come in here?
You shouldn't get up. You should...
I know all about it. I know what's happened. I've heard every word.
You're very ill, Mrs. Maddox.
I know. I heard you. And now I know what's wrong with me. I know what carcinoma is, Doctor.
Please go back to bed.
No, not just yet. This girl, Doreen, you're wrong. She's innocent. She had nothing to do with it. That is, not directly.
What do you mean, Mrs. Maddox?
She didn't kill Frank. I did.
You?
She's perfectly innocent. Frank did send for her. He was afraid of John. He dreamed about him every night. He did think John was trying to reach him from the grave, trying to kill him. It was his imagination, I know, but he really believed it. And he had a good reason to believe it.
What reason?
I've heard Frank moaning and yelling for weeks and weeks. I heard him tonight. I came in here and found him on the floor. He'd made a will. This paper. Leaving everything to Doreen and explaining why. Oh.
Sit down, Melba.
Yes. Well, he came out of his faint, and I found this will. I went wild when I saw it. He tried to get it away from me. He said it had to be that way. We struggled for it, and I took the paper knife and stabbed him. I went back to my room, but I've been standing outside the door. I heard everything, particularly what you said about me, Doctor. So what does it matter? This girl is innocent.
What is this paper? Let's see it.
I'll tell you what it says. It leaves everything Frank has to Doreen. And the reason why? Frank killed John.
What?
Yes. It was all my fault. I knew John had made a strike, and I told Frank about it. Frank went to John's cabin and killed him, took the maps and the papers and filed an acclaim. I was the one responsible for everything. But it all rightfully belongs to Doreen. And now... Well, now that I've heard the doctor's sentence, what does it matter?
Well, Doreen, that was lucky for you. Lucky that Melba was standing outside the door and heard the doctor. But oh, what I know about you, Doreen. You and Anthony. Anthony did bring you down here, but on the way he fell madly in love with you. He told you about your uncle's fears, and so between the two of you, you decided to make his dreams more than real. Anthony arranged a little radio speaker in Uncle Frank's room. Yes, it was Anthony who spoke to Frank, not John's voice from the grave. Anthony merely amplified Frank's dreams, yes. You and Anthony planned to work on Frank psychologically in order to get that will and the confession. But how did Anthony know the exact words to use? The words John used when he was dying that night in the cabin? Why, because Anthony was the little boy John caught in his cabin that night. The boy who heard every word said between Frank and John. The smart little boy who saw it all.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time,
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another unusual tale. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Men, if you have that show me attitude when it comes to shaving cream, we invite you to try Fitch's No Brush. We think it has the qualities you want in a shaving cream: a smooth, non-greasy texture, a skin conditioner ingredient to protect sensitive skins, and a fast action that instantly prepares your face for the grandest, coolest shave you've ever had. And to top it all off, Fitch's No Brush is reasonably priced. So we suggest you try it. See if we're not right when we say Fitch's No Brush gives a solid comfort shave.
If you're one of the many who swear by a lather cream, try Fitch's Brush Cream. This cream gives loads of swell lather that stays more during the shave. It rinses off easily, too. Like Fitch's No Brush, it contains a skin conditioner that makes even the most sensitive skins feel cool and smooth.
Yes, men, for shaving comfort, try either Fitch's Brush or Fitch's No Brush shaving cream. Both come in a form you like at a price you like. What's more, both will give you the kind of shave you like. So ask the man behind her for Fitch's Shave Cream. Fitch, spelled F-I-T-C-H.
Thanks for listening to HOJO Radio. We'll be back again very soon.